looking for the link, Gary. Okay. Let me just quickly send this person the link. Again, just trying to make sure everybody gets into the room. In the meantime, guys, like I said, for those of you who have just joined the call, please just let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay. You can see me okay. The screen is showing nice and clear. It should say Six Figure Deal Sourcer live training session in nice bright writing, golden white. So everyone just let me know in the chat if you can see that okay. Let me just get this link over to Glenda. And then we're going to get straight into it, guys. Loud and clear. Brilliant. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, Natasha. Hi, Mo. How's it going? Hope you're well. Okay, good. Okay, Glenda's got the link now. There's a few more people messaging, but you guys all managed to find the link. I'm pretty sure everyone else can. So thank you so much, guys. All right, so what I'm going to do, let me just get rid of my face so that you can just focus on the actual presentation. So as you can see, it is the Six Figure Deal Sourcer live training session. Quick question, actually, before we actually dive into it. How many of you have actually either joined one of my live sessions before or watched one of the replays? Just let me know in the chat. Give me a yes if you've seen my training before. Just give me a yes in the chat, guys. Vladimir says no. Okay. Rachel, no. Esther, no. Amma said yes, I've seen both. Natasha, okay, okay, all right. So there's a kind of a mixture in the room. So what I'll do is I'll make sure I kind of go over everything nice and slow so that the people who haven't seen my training before can make sure that they grab everything. And at the same time, I'm not going to go too slow just for, of course, the people who have already seen the training. Of course, some of this stuff they would have already heard on previous training. So I'm going to go at a nice steady tempo so that everybody knows exactly what to do by the end of the call. Okay, brilliant. Let's get into it. So again, this is the Six Figure Deal Sourcer training. I would imagine that most of you guys came across me on Facebook, as that's really where I do the majority of my marketing and kind of speaking about deal sourcing and putting out the results that the guys in my mentorship program are getting. So what I'd like for you guys to do is just introduce yourselves, especially the newer people who this is the first time they've actually been on one of my training sessions. It would be great to know a little bit about your situation, and that will help me understand what I need to maybe go into a bit more detail about. So if you can just let me know, in terms of what your experience is. Are you a complete newbie, or are you already up and running, already selling deals and kind of just want to scale? Also, let me know what your biggest obstacle is. I always like to ask people that question because, of course, that's usually the thing that's slowing people down or stopping them altogether. So just let me know what your biggest obstacle is. And also let me know what your monthly income goal is. Again, I'm going to be able to tell you whether or not it's realistic or not. So please let me know in the chat, guys. So I'd like to know, do I have any experienced deal sources in the room? Is there any complete newbies? And I'd like to know what everybody's biggest obstacle is, as well as what your monthly income goal is. So just let me know in the chat, guys. Okay, so Esther said, newbie, I need information on how to start making 2K per month. Okay, 2K per month is super realistic, Esther, by the way. So I'm going to go into great detail about everything as we kind of make our way through the presentation. But just on what you've mentioned, 2K is actually less than the price of one deal. So we're actually selling rent-to-rent deals for £3,000 to these investors. I'm going to show you how and why and everything shortly. But just so you know, one sale would get you that money. Actually, it would get you £2,000 plus an extra £1,000 on top of what you're actually hoping for. So it's actually really, really realistic, £2,000. I would actually say you'd be better off saying £3,000 because that just means you need to sell one deal a month right? And what I'm going to show you is pretty much how you can do that, but also how you can sell multiple deals a month, right? So very, very realistic, Esther. So please stay tuned and take notes. For everybody who's got a notepad in front of them, try and scribble down as much of this as you can so that you know, again, after the call, you know exactly what to do, right? So okay, Barry says yes. Okay, Vladimir says pretty much a newbie. Okay, monthly income goal is about 5 to 6K, and he has all the legal legislation. So I'm assuming you mean you're fully compliant. And 5 to 6K again, Vladimir, very, very realistic. That's two sales a month. Again, we're selling these deals for £3,000 each. So if you can just sell two a month, yeah, you've hit your goal. My guys are selling a deal a week, so we're selling 4 deals a month. Because the aim, of course, is to be taking home a minimum of £10,000, right? And they're doing this on their own, no big team or anything like that. This is literally just what I'm about to walk you guys through, and they're able to do that. So again, your goal is super realistic. Two sales a month, definitely. So yeah, definitely, Vladimir, we can get that done. Paris says complete newbie, monthly goal is 10K per month. Okay, again, very realistic. So it's just a sale a week. And with what I'm going to show you, you're going to know exactly how you can go about doing that. Eleanor says compliant for about a month now. Okay, well done, Eleanor. So you're ready to go, just like what Vladimir said. Biggest obstacle is finding investors. So what I'm going to show you today, Eleanor, is going to be super helpful for you, because the whole investor list approach is something that I've been screaming from the rooftops about for many, many years. It's what I would say I'm sort of an expert in. And all of the examples I'm going to show you today, as well as any examples you've seen me post before, have all come because we focused on building a qualified investor list the right way and nurturing those relationships, which allows us to sell these deals really quickly and make this money. So finding investors, you're absolutely right. That's definitely something that, if you're struggling with, is a big obstacle, but I'm going to show you how to get over that very, very easily. And you also mentioned income goal of 5 to 10K. So again, very realistic. That's 4 sales per month. Again, guys, for you, for the one or two of you who have mentioned 10K per month, it's actually, so 4 sales would actually be 12 grand. So you'd actually make more than 10K. You'd actually exceed the goal just by selling 4 deals, right? If you sold 3, you'd be making about 9 grand. So again, super realistic, super realistic. Zaya said complete newbie and currently doing a SA mentorship. For those of you who don't know, SA is service accommodation mentorship. So I'm assuming what Zaya means is the plan is to take some of these rent to rent deals on themselves. So essentially, Zaya is an investor, but I would imagine you're also now looking into deal sourcing as well, Zaya. So, and my income varies as I'm part time. Okay. So, what's the income goal, Zaya? So, how much would you like to be making? And I'm talking about just from the deal sourcing side. I know you're looking into the SA side as well, but just in terms of deal sourcing, what would you ideally like to be making on a month by month basis? Rachel said, I started last year. Okay, so not a newbie. Getting compliant and finding genuine investors, closing the first deal, and the goal is 5 to 10K. So a lot of you have got a similar goal, actually, around the 5 to 10K or 6 to 10K mark, which is again really, really realistic. I'm going to show you some examples of people who are doing what some of you guys have mentioned in terms of goals. So like the 6Ks, I've got people who've done that in one day with one sale. You know, we've got a lady called Jane. I'm going to show you the example shortly, but we have a lady called Jane, for example, and just a few weeks ago, she just done £6,500 from one sale. So it was a block deal, it was a rent to rent block deal. And in the end, that investor purchased that deal from Jane and a co-sourcer. So she partnered up with someone on it. And that investor ended up paying £13,000 in sourcing fee to them for that deal. So when they split it down the middle, Jane walked away with 6.5 grand, and that was one sale. You know, so let's say we're looking at some of you guys' goal of 6K. She just done that like that, and it took her just over a week to do. Right. So again, this is why I say super realistic. And I'm going to show you lots of examples that are similar to that as well. So definitely doable. Who else do we have? Natasha. Hey, Natasha. So newbie compliance and time is the obstacle. I'm assuming. Need to get away from the theory and go into action 100%. I mean, look, there's something that I'm really big on, guys. Again, I'm not too sure how long some of you have been following me for, but I talk a lot about the fact that there's a lot of theory out there, right? There's a lot of information out there, but I think what people really struggle with is knowing how to actually take action. So, for example, when you guys finish listening to this call, will you know exactly what to do? Could you come off of this call and get straight into it? Or do you just have the information and you still don't know what to do next, right? So I'm really big on action. So I want to give you actionable steps today that you can take away and start doing things straight away. In fact, actually during this call, I'm going to get you guys again, if you're up for getting involved and engaging, I'm going to give you guys a task that's going to help you, to be honest. But also it's going to kind of get you to start the process already before we've even finished the call, right? And if you take it seriously, there is a huge benefit to it, right? So yeah, Natasha, definitely realistic. 6 to 9K, you said. So that's 2 to 3 sales a month. Again, super realistic with the way I'm going to show you how to do it. We also have Barry. Barry said, a newbie, a monthly goal of 6K, 6 to 10K. Okay, again, I think everybody's goals are pretty similar. So very realistic though, right? Look, nobody's come on here and said, I want to make 1 million a month, right? Because if someone did, then I would be honest with you in saying you'd probably struggle to do that, right? That would be pretty difficult to do in this business anyway. But when we're talking about hitting the 10s to 20s, we've got a couple of people who are hitting the 30s. That is very realistic. 10K per month is, you see me talk a lot about the 10K per month because that is super realistic. That is ideally where you want to be and be able to do that consistently. Again, it's 1 sale a week, 1 sale a week. So what I'm going to show you is definitely actionable if you take it seriously and you actually commit. That's all that's necessary. So, okay, Hugh said, can you do a webinar on compliance? I can't, Hugh. I'm not an expert on compliance. um, there is a compliance checklist in the group, though, guys. So for everyone else who's listening, who's still going through your compliance and you're not too sure what you should be doing or what the costs are, the websites, things like that, you actually have access to a free compliance checklist inside the free school group that you're all in. So go through that, go through the checklist, and I literally give you all the websites. So you just click on them, and all the information that you need is there, essentially. I know some of it can be a little bit tricky, but if you just take the time, go through it, read it all, you should be able to get through it. Okay, look, I've worked with over 200 people now, and a large majority of them are fully compliant, and yeah, they've managed to do it. So I know it's a little bit of a process, but you'll figure it out. And if you do need extra help on it, guys, like I said, I'm not an expert, so I can't really do a whole webinar on it. But just reach out to me, maybe send me some screenshots of what you're struggling with, and then I can try and give you some pointers here and there. Okay. But okay, so all right, so I've got an idea of where everyone's at in the room. Pretty much, we've got 15 of you in the room now, and I think pretty much everybody answered. So it's a I think everybody's at a similar level. I don't think anybody's selling deals already or seems to be um hitting that target just yet, but everybody seems to have very realistic goals. So again, I'm actually glad that you guys have joined this call because this is going to help you hit those goals very, very easily. Again, if you just commit and follow what I show you, right? So just to confirm that I've got the right people in the room, this training is for the people that want to start making £3,000 or more per week by selling rent-to-rent deals online. If you can just drop a yes in the comments if that's you. I just want to make sure I've got the right people on. I know it probably sounds like a strange question. Why are you asking me that, Gary? Of course, that's why I've joined the call, right? But I told the guys on the last call a story about one of the masterclasses I'd done previously where somebody actually ended up being on a completely different call than what they were looking for. I don't even think they were looking into property, but somehow they ended up on my masterclass, right? So I make sure I ask that question to make sure I've got the right people in the room. So brilliant. Barry is definitely, Rachel, Vladimir, Esther, amazing, Natasha, Zaya, Test, and Hugh. Okay, brilliant. Okay, we've got the right people in the room. Paris, thank you, Paris. Remember, guys, again, make as much use of this chat as you can. If there's anything that you want to ask, and even if it feels like it's off topic, of course, as long as it's about deal sourcing, but if it feels like it's off topic from what I'm talking about specific moment, still feel free to just fire away in the chat. I want you to use the chat as much as possible, and I will keep an eye on it. I'll stop, go back, and explain things if I need to. Okay. I'm going to be doing some giveaways on this call. Um, I'm known for doing giveaways on my masterclasses. I've been doing it for years now. So we're going to keep up the tradition. So what I'm going to be giving away on today's call is number one, a free business audit. So essentially, whether you're just starting or you're already up and running, I'm going to go through your whole business for you, look at the systems, look at everything. I'm going to look at everything, how you're generating your leads, how you're closing your sales, etc., etc. And of course, if you're just starting from scratch, we're essentially going to go over what you should be doing, right? So that's what I'm going to be giving away as the first giveaway. That's going to be off the back of a competition, which I'll explain to you a little bit later on in the presentation. The second thing I'm going to be giving away is a step-by-step guide. Again, just breaking down exactly what you need to do to start selling deals and essentially banking 3K per week, selling rent-to-rent deals. It's a PDF. So everybody on the call will receive that. Also, I will give you the compliance checklist. So like I was just explaining, we have a compliance checklist inside the group. I know sometimes people struggle to find these things. So I will make sure that everybody that's on the call has a copy. And like I said, it covers the sites, the costs. So you'll know exactly what you need to do to become fully compliant. The only rule is you have to stay to the end of the call. That's it. Right? Is everybody okay with that? Everybody understand that? Just give me a yes if that makes sense. And if everyone's okay with that, and we'll keep going. Thank you, Esther. Thank you. Thank you, Test, Zaya, Vladimir, Amma. Brilliant. Okay. Paris, Barry, amazing. Eleanor, Hugh, I like it. I've got an active group today. Amazing. Okay. Right, let's keep going. So I'm going to, again, try and sort of form a picture of where everybody's at in the room, just to ask you a few questions. So does any of these sound like you? Firstly, you're making less than £10,000 per month from deal sourcing currently. I'd love to actually speak with anyone who is making £10,000 or more in the room, to get an idea of where they're at with things. But is there anybody making less than £10,000 per month from deal sourcing right now? Just give me a yes in the chat. I would imagine most of you are on a similar page. Rachel says yes. Vladimir, okay. Give me a yes, guys, if you're making less. Or I'm going to assume that maybe you are making the £10,000 per month, guys. Let me know. Give me a yes in the chat if you're making less than 10K per month right now from deal sourcing. If you are, it's absolutely fine. And this is the whole point of this call. I want to cover as much as possible so that you understand how straightforward it is to hit that goal. Zaya says yes. iPad says yes. Sorry, iPad, it doesn't say your name. Apologies. But Esther, Amma, Eleanor says yes. Unfortunately, don't you worry, Eleanor. We're gonna get there. Don't you worry about it. Okay, brilliant. Okay, I appreciate your honesty, guys. Secondly, is there anyone in the room that's struggling to find serious investors that happily pay those £3,000 sourcing fees? If you've been watching me for the past few years, posting my guys' results, you're probably seeing, 3K after 3K after 3K, and wondering to yourself, who is buying these deals? Who's actually paying these guys these £3,000 fees? Well, it's the serious investors that are genuinely looking for these deals, which I'm going to show you how to find those people. But how are you getting on with finding them? Let me know. Is that something that you're struggling with? Just give me a yes in the chat. Zaya says yes. Vladimir says yes. Eleanor, Paris. I'm seeing the same names, guys. Good. Talk to me. Okay. Okay. Glenda says yes. Okay. Is there anyone else in the room that's also struggling to build a valuable network of co-sourcers? And the whole point of you building that network of co-sourcers is they will send you a consistent flow of rent-to-rent deals to sell. A large majority of the deals we sell are co-sourced. We sell a lot direct, especially more recently, which we're going to go over in more detail shortly. But a lot of deals are sold that have come directly from our co-sourcers. So is there anyone struggling to build a nice, valuable network of co-sources? This is really important, by the way. As you know, look, your network is your net worth. So if this is something you're struggling with, we have to figure it out. We have to help you guys overcome that. Vladimir says yes. There says yes. Rachel, Paris. Okay, brilliant. And also, how about struggling to find motivated landlords that say yes to rent to rent? I think that's one of the things that a lot of people struggle with. Getting those direct deals from landlords, because of course, you know, a lot of landlords have no idea what rent to rent or corporate lets, or however you want to phrase it, even works in the first place, right? When they put their properties on the market, they're looking for traditional tenants. So this is a completely new foreign concept to them. So is anyone struggling with that? Has you been struggling with those conversations? Just give me a yes in the chat if you have. Very normal, by the way. Again, I get contacted by new deal sources every day, and from a lot of them, that's one of their issues, right? They can either they don't know where to find the landlords in the first place, or they just don't know how to approach them, how to have the conversations, how to present this opportunity to them so they see the value in it and work with them. So just give me a yes, let me know. Paris says yes. Eleanor says yes, speaking to many, and they are gone off the scene altogether. I guess everyone relies on someone to carry them on. Right. Okay. So I would imagine that is it's going to be about the approach, Eleanor. We're going to talk about that in a second, but it's going to be to do with the approach, because at the end of the day, like I always say to people, if a landlord has put their property on the market and we can give them a reasonable offer, especially if we can help them resolve an issue, i.e. they don't really want to deal with traditional tenants anymore anyway, you know, they'd rather just give that property to someone who's going to deal with everything. If we can present that solution to them in the right way, then 9 times out of 10 they're going to say yes, especially if we can give them the right price as well, right? So definitely it's something we're going to go over in more detail, Eleanor, and hopefully this will help you start to get more yeses when you're speaking to landlords. But okay, good. Oh, you're talking about co-sourcing. Okay, well, same sort of thing, to be honest. Again, we need to figure out what's happening, what type of conversations you're having with them, and how you're finding them as well. Because the way that I'm going to show you how to find them, you'll be able to see that they're actively sourcing in the areas that you're covering. So it won't be a cold outreach. You're reaching out to them because you can already see they're selling deals where you're going to be selling deals. So it makes sense for you guys to connect. Whereas obviously, if you're reaching out to sources that maybe aren't covering that area, or there's a reason why you guys are not doing the same thing, then it might come across cold, and obviously that's not going to work. So I'm going to show you a way how to do it really straightforward. Okay. Kieran said finding the deal going for reviewing, but finding the deal going for reviewing, but it's closing or securing it to get it out. Okay. So, Kieran, tell me, you're actually going out and viewing these properties yourself. Is that what you mean? Just give me a yes in the chat. That's what you're referring to? Yeah. So, okay. So again, I'm going to show you how we do it, which is we do not go and view any of these properties ourselves at all. I'm going to actually show you a number of sales that my mentees have got. There's actually been many sales since these ones that I'm going to show you, and we do not go to any of these viewings. We are literally selling these deals without putting a penny of our own money into them, or without seeing these properties ourselves physically. So I would say the first thing that you need to change is you need to know how to secure these deals over the phone without you having to physically go and see them yourself. And we're going to go into more detail about why, but yeah, like if I just talk about my own story, I've been there, I've done that, right? I was an estate agent for a couple of years, as well as I started deal sourcing in 2011. So I've been doing this for a long time. And there was a period where I was up and down the country doing viewings, up and down London doing viewings. And it takes a lot of time. How many properties can you see in a day, right? Whereas how many landlords can you contact in a day? Well, it's kind of unlimited, you know. You can contact a lot of people in a day in comparison to physically going and seeing these properties. And also, what I found was the investors are not buying these deals based on me seeing the properties. I'll say that again. These investors are not going to buy the deals based on whether or not I have seen them or whether or not you have seen them, Kieran. They're only going to make their decision based on them seeing it. Either them seeing it or someone in their team or their partner or someone they trust, right? Remember, we're complete strangers to them. So what I found was the viewings for me were pointless. We were just doing 2 viewings on the property for no reason really, and sometimes it could actually even kind of confuse the landlord, because if I turn up, they kind of assume, well, if I turn up first before I've started presenting it to my investors, etc., it can kind of come across as though I am the person taking the property on. Otherwise, why am I here? Why am I here to look at it, right? Whereas if everything is based on the investor going and seeing the property themselves because they are the decision maker and they're the one that's actually taking the property on, you save time, but it also makes a lot more sense to the landlord because they're like, okay, that makes sense. You're right. This is the person that's taking it on. This is the company. Of course, it's them that's coming to see it. So that's a small tweak. Obviously, this is just a very quick conversation, Kieran. We'll, as we go through the call, ask more questions, and hopefully we'll catch up maybe on a one-to-one after the call as well. But that's one thing I can already see you need to change to save yourself time and effort. You need to be able to close these deals over the phone, which is exactly what we do. Again, like I said, I mean, within the program, we've sold close to 200 deals. Well, sorry, not 200 deals. We have close to 200 examples of clients, mentees selling deals. So it's over 200 deals sold, but 200 people almost. And like I said, I would probably say 98% of those deals were sold without us viewing them. Right. So, yes, there is a small percentage of these deals that viewings happen, but that's only if it's not an inconvenience for the person. So, for example, if the property is just around the corner from where I live, then I might go over there and attend the viewing and meet the people in person. Right. But if it's on the other side of the city or outside of London, I'm based in London, there's no reason for me to go there. And it's just too time consuming. So, yeah, we almost never ever go to viewings. So I hope that maybe changes your perspective on it a little bit and you can kind of see why it will make a little bit more. Oh, you just said yes, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, we'll keep going, but like I said, keep firing questions, Kieran, and I think that may be just the one little thing that you need to change that might help a little bit. Okay, guys, let's keep going. So, and just to make sure, guys, can everybody still hear me okay and still see the screen okay? Just give me a yes in the chat if you can. Just want to make sure that everything's still coming across nice and clear. Brilliant. Thank you, Vladimir. Thank you, Esther. Okay, amazing. All right. So, how about the guys that are struggling to find letting agents that understand how the rent to rent model actually works and is also open to handing leads over to you? Again, we get a lot of deals from agents as well. Well, we get a lot of leads from agents because when you're getting these leads from or deals from agents, they're not deals until you've obviously gone back and forth and got it all agreed. So, it's a lead at first. But of course, valuable, right? If you can get a landlord via an agent, then usually it's going to be, I mean, as long as they're already happy with what we proposed, it's going to be a little bit easier because the agent usually already has that relationship and there's that element of trust between them and the landlord. So having these relationships with letting agents is super valuable. So how's everybody getting on with that? Okay, all right. So Rachel, Tess, Natasha, Vladimir, Zay. Okay. Glenda says, yes, struggling with agency. All right, so everyone's in a similar position. Okay, I'm going to go over exactly what you should be doing, how you should be approaching these guys on this call, and hopefully that's going to help you turn that around, right? So, okay, enough of the questions. As I mentioned earlier, I'm super big on action over theory. So just let me know in the chat if you're fed up of the theory and you're actually ready to get into taking action. Just give me a yes in the chat if you're ready to start taking action. We're going to go into the steps and give you a little bit more perspective about exactly what we're doing. Just give me a yes if you're ready. Brilliant. Barry says yes. Rachel, Vladimir, Eleanor, Kieran, amazing. Paris, Sanu, brilliant. Okay, you guys are definitely in the right place. I'm going to cover a lot with you today. Just really quickly, I'm going to give you my backstory. Again, for those of you who've already been in my training before, you would have already been told this. So I won't take too long on it. I just want to give the guys who haven't been on any of my training before a little bit of context in terms of myself and why it's even worth listening to me, right? Of course, anybody can kind of jump on a training session and start giving you information, but I want you to understand why it's worth listening to me. So I actually started in 2011. I think I mentioned it earlier. That's where my deal sourcing journey started. So similar to all of you, you know, no experience. I had no clients, no network, no deals, you know, no money. And I literally started from scratch. Now what I done, which I would imagine some of you guys have already done or considering doing, is I started investing in my education. I went to went to seminars. I mean, 2011. It was more webinars. Sorry, seminars than webinars. So a lot of in person education. So I was just kind of like trying to learn as much as I could, but I didn't really have any focus, right? So I was attempting to source any and every type of property deal that you can think of, which I don't know. Is there anybody in the room who's trying to do multiple strategies at the moment? Just give me a yes if you're trying to do, your BMV deals, your BRR deals, your lease option deals, your rent to rent deals, land deals, everything. If you're trying to do multiple deals and essentially just trying to do any and every type of deal and struggling a little bit, give me a yes in the chat because I can definitely relate to you. Sinu, listen, I really appreciate your honesty. Sinu says, yes, me. Zaya says, yes. Natasha, yes. Yeah, I mean, look, I've been there. I know exactly how it goes. Um, and I imagine most people who are trying to get into property kind of go down that same route, right? Because you're just not sure, to be honest. When I started, I definitely wasn't sure. For me, it was just I knew I had the work rate, I knew I was ambitious, and I just wanted to get out there and figure things out as I went along. And I just ended up getting nowhere, to be completely honest with you. Like I said, I was trying to do the BMV deals, the buy to let deals. I think Eleanor mentioned, yeah, Eleanor mentioned buy to let only. So Eleanor, you would know exactly what I'm about to speak about in a second, and the BRR deals. I tried to do every deal, overseas deals, land deals, large development deals. There was even one point, I got involved in a deal that was supposed, it was a hotel deal that was supposed to make us like 3 or 4 million, right, in fees once it was all done. So I was sold the dream of trying to do these huge deals and get these massive paydays. And what I found was the same problem over and over again. And mainly that was that the deals just take so long to complete. Eleanor, I'm sure you can relate. I mean, Sanu, I'm sure you can relate. All of the guys that said yes, we're looking at 3 to 6 months usually to get a deal complete when you're dealing with conveyancing surveys, local authority searches, mortgage applications, you name it, right? All of um, the traditional things that slow a sale down, right? So I was dealing with that problem over and over again, and essentially I needed to find a solution. Something had to change, right? I knew that if I attempted to try and build this business just by doing those larger deals, that it was going to take me a long time to actually make money. And like I always say, look, the bills don't stop coming, right? So I needed to figure out a way to actually start completing deals, getting paid fees, and making this work. So I talk a lot about going from like the broke Gary to the 10K per month Gary, because I feel like once I hit that mark, of course, I was still the same person, but my whole perspective on money and business and everything changed, right? Because similar to some of you guys who are talking about having those, 6 to 10,000 pound goals at the moment, although maybe in your mind you can kind of see that it's real and it's attainable for yourself, there's always that kind of like slight doubt in the back of your mind, right? So once you do it, once you achieve it, you're like, okay, I've done it once, I can do it again, right? And it's real. It's not just somebody else telling me that it can be done. I've actually experienced it myself. So that was a big transformation for me. So going from the broke Gary, where we were trying to source any and every type of deal, as I mentioned earlier, there's no focus at all, right? I would attempt to do any deal that you presented to me. Um, Again, waiting 3 to 6, sometimes longer. When I was an agent, and actually in and out of agency, I've experienced deals that have taken 12 plus months to complete. So it's a very long time to wait to get paid. And also just kind of freestyling the process. Again, no structure. I was not focusing on building investor lists or, you know, uh, you know, putting time and effort into building and nurturing a network. I was just literally running around like a headless chicken, like most people do when they're first starting out. So that was kind of the phase that kept me at the broke stage, I suppose you could call it. The transition over to climbing up in terms of income and hitting the 10K per month mark was switching my focus to rent deals. And actually, I should actually rewind a little bit. I didn't go straight into rent to rent. So I just learned about the creative investment strategies. So like lease options, installment contracts, rent to rent, of course, and all the other ones, and tried all of those out as well. Got really, really familiar with doing the lease option deals. Again, this is back in 2011, 2012. At the time, that was kind of the buzzword. That was the type of deal everybody's doing at the time. And then slowly switched over to the rent to rent deals. I think got a couple of rent to rent deals done, and just the quickness in terms of how fast we was being paid is what made me focus just on that. I literally made the decision, okay, I'm just going to do these deals. Again, like I said, there's no purchase of the property involved. So the transaction is really quick. There's no solicitors, no conveyancing. There's no surveys that need to be done. So with the bigger deals, a surveyor goes in, something comes up on the survey, and all of a sudden we've lost the deal or we're renegotiating on price, somebody's pulling out. So it was a nightmare. Whereas with these rent to rent deals, there was none of that, right? No solicitor, no mortgage, no survey, nothing. So the transactions were happening really, really quick. Within the space of a week, you can be paid your fee. So, like I said, getting paid 2 to 3K within days for the deals. Back then, we was getting paid really kind of 2 to 2.5 thousand at first, and then I was there when it went from the 2 to 2 thousand up to the 3,000 in terms of fee, which is now the market rate. Everybody sells their rent to rent deals for 3K now, but I was there at the start when it was kind of like £2,000, and if somebody actually tried to ask for £3,000, that was seen as a lot of money, right? A lot of people, a lot of investors would actually walk away from a deal if you was charging 3K at that time. Um, and a tried and tested system. So again, I kind of reverse engineered what I could see everybody else was doing, which we'll go into more detail about in a minute. But once I kind of found that process worked really well for me, that was the process and the system that I followed moving forward. So a very, very valuable lesson was learned just by switching my attention from doing any deal to specifically trying to do the creative deals, i.e., rent to rent. Okay, let me just make sure I'm not missing any of your questions, guys. Eleanor said, haven't looked into rent to rent, to be honest. I want to do rent to SA for myself. Okay, so I mean, so basically, rent to SA is just a type of rent to rent. So if you're already looking into rent to SA, you are looking into rent to rent essentially, because you've got rent to SA, you've got rent to HMO, you've got rent to supported living, there's different types of rent to rent. Now, when it comes to selling those deals, and again, I'm kind of rushing ahead. I'll go into more detail about it in a second, but just whilst you've mentioned it, Eleanor, when you are selling those deals, you can sell any type of rent to rent deal. So at the moment, you're focusing on taking on rent to SAs, which is fine, absolutely fine. You can build that portfolio. Your deal sourcing business will help you because you're going to put that capital into the deals that you take on, right? When you're making these lump sums. But you can also build a list of investors who, one, take on the rent to SAs that you don't take on. So maybe you cover the same area that you're taking the deals on in, and any that you don't take on, they take them on. But you've got a list of these people. So it's not a case of, if I don't take this deal, I've got to go out and scramble to find someone else to take it. I've already got a list of people to go straight to. And also, you can sell the other type of deals too. So whilst you're doing your marketing, whilst you're speaking to landlords, whilst your network sending you the other type of deals outside of what you're taking on, you can sell those to these guys on your list. So definitely, you're in the right place. I'm going to cover as much as I can for you today. And of course, if there's anything you're unsure about, we'll go over it in more detail together. But definitely, you can do both, essentially. Natasha, I hope that makes sense, Ellen. Let me know. I hope that answers your question. Natasha said, is it wise to do both rent to SA or rent to rent HMO, one particular strategy or so both? So, yeah, so I think I kind of answered that with what I said to Eleanor. You can do all of them at the same time. And it's not going to make a difference, right? It's not going to take you more or less time to do one or to do all of them, right? If you're doing one, you might as well do all of them, because the way that I'm going to show you how to do this, you're going to build a list of investors that are looking for all different types of rent-to-rent deals, right? They're not going to really just be looking for one type. So you don't want to limit yourself to one type, if that makes sense. Okay, I hope that makes sense, guys. Darren says, can you give a quick overview of how lease option deals work? Yeah, I'll very quickly, because that's not what we're going to cover today. But of course, just to answer your question, so with a lease, it's very similar to a rent to rent, by the way. So essentially, what happens is we agree a price with the landlord today. So I'll give you an example. We take on a property in County Durham. So we've done a lot of lease options. Reason being, there's a lot of negative equity in that part of the country, which are negative equity properties are the perfect properties for lease option, because what will happen is we will agree a price with the landlord today or with the owner today, which will usually be the amount that covers whatever it is they owe, right? And you agree that price today, you lock it in today, and let's say that that arrangement is for 10 years, let's say. So the lease option is 10 years. You have the right to purchase that property for this price within that 10-year period, and all you need to do is pay the landlord a monthly rent, similar to with a rent to rent. So you take control of the property, you pay the landlord the rent, you can put your own tenants in and make your income on a monthly basis, but also you have today's price locked in. So in 10 years' time, if that price increases or the value of that property increases, you're still purchasing it at today's price. And that's essentially how lease options work, right? So they are a very good tool for in terms of for investors. Um, but of course, in terms of getting those deals closed, you have to have a solicitor involved because there's going to be a purchase at some point. So it's a little bit different from a rent to rent. So that's why, like I mentioned earlier, that's why I put my attention mainly into rent to rent, because although lease options are still quick to do, you still had to have a solicitor involved that had to write up the paperwork. And if that solicitor dragged their feet, a deal that should only take a week, all of a sudden now takes 3 weeks. if you see what I mean, right? And we had loads of those situations. Whereas whenever we done a rent to rent, it was agreement signed by both parties. Obviously the little checks that need to be done, which again can be done like in the same day, very quick. And investor pays landlord's first month's rent, deposit, if that's what's been agreed, and pays your sourcing fee. And now that deal's done. That's it. The keys are handed to the investor, on to the next one. And we're doing those within days, which is difficult to do with near enough any other type of deal. So that's why we switched our attention to rent to rent. Yeah. No worries, Darren. I hope I actually broke that down in an easy to understand way, right? And Esther said, what is the difference between rent to rent and rent to HMO? So there isn't a difference, right? Good question though. There isn't a difference. So like I was just saying to Eleanor, a rent to rent HMO is a rent to rent. So there isn't a difference. All right. Now, if you was asking what's the difference between a rent to rent HMO and a rent to rent SA, then those are different, because a rent to rent HMO is a HMO, right? And a rent to rent SA is a serviced accommodation. So those two types of rent to rent are different. But a rent to rent and a rent to HMO is the same thing, because a rent to rent HMO is a rent to rent. I hope that makes sense. That sounds a little bit tongue twisted, like I'm like doing a bit of a riddle, but I hope it makes sense, right? Yeah, so it's the same thing. Okay, last couple of questions before we keep going. I don't want to hold you guys too long. So Kieran said, Gary, not too on topic, I know, but how would you gain good social proof so investors can trust you? Okay, that's not really off topic. That's a good question. Um, the only way you're going to gain social proof is by selling deals and doing a good job. To be honest with you, it's almost impossible to get that up front. So this is why it's important. You're doing the right thing already. You're learning how to do this, so you can go out there, build those relationships with those clients, start selling deals. And then, I mean, look, the first deal you sell straight away, you should be getting a review from that person, and that's your first bit of social proof almost immediately, right? And every person that you work with after that, same sort of thing. If you sell a deal with them and they're happy with the service, ask them to give you a review, whether it's just a message on WhatsApp that you can screenshot, or a video message, or however it is. Any feedback you can get from them that's positive is always going to work in your favor when you're working with or trying to work with potential clients moving forward. So yeah, that's the only way you're really going to be able to do it though. You just got to get out there and actually start doing the work and getting the deals done. Yeah. Rachel said, do you do assisted sales? So I started off with assisted sales. I'll actually tell you a funny story. One of the first property videos that I watched, and I can't remember the gentleman's name now. It was, again, I started in 2011, so this might have actually even been before 2011. I saw that video, was about assisted sales because I'd never heard of it before. And I kind of just, again, just doing my research, trying to find out things about property, and I came across this strategy, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, I can get involved in a sale without me putting any money in. And but again, it goes back to the same thing I said. With assisted sales, there's an actual sale of the property happening. So this means we have to still go through that whole process, which takes a long time, or can take a long time. Don't get me wrong. Of course, there's instances where a purchase of property can go through really quickly. Of course, definitely. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be months that you're waiting to be paid, but just because that's the way the process is. So it's the same thing with assisted sales. Yes, you're not putting your money in to buy the property, but you still have to go through the process of it being sold and someone buying it for you to be paid what you're agreeing with that owner. So I would still, in terms for deal sourcing, I would still pick rent to rent over any of those other strategies. It's the quickest and easiest deal that you can do, lowest barrier to entry. So yeah, I hope that answers your question though. Okay. Eleanor said yes, it just needs different certificates for usage and class change. Exactly. Yes. But essentially, like I said, the question was whether or not there's a difference between rent to rent and HMO, but there isn't. They are the same thing. That's how you have to look at it. So rent to rent is the strategy, right? So renting a property from a landlord to rent it to somebody else, that's the strategy. And then under that strategy, there are different types of rent to rent. So, like we said, HMO, SA, supported living, social housing. Um, Obviously, it just depends on which ones your clients are trying to do. Okay, so okay, all right. So I'll keep going. So as I was saying, look, I stopped wasting time on the slow deals. Started focusing on the rent to rent deals, and managed to get things moving really quickly. And again, this was another thing that I just noticed a huge difference when you're speaking to investors that are actually buying the property and going through that process of spending a lot of money, huge deposits. Even if we're talking about, cash purchases, BMV, they're spending hundreds of thousands. I just noticed that those conversations and that process just took a lot longer. Whereas as soon as I decided that I was just going to focus on rent to rent and I started hitting the groups, and which I'm going to show you guys how to do, and building those relationships, I was getting responses really quickly. I had people raring to go, as you can see here straight away. Look, straight away, people are saying, Gary, London, surrounding areas, I'm willing to consider other areas. Thanks for getting in touch. I'm looking for rent to rent. Like, this is just literally scraping the barrel that I have an inbox. And still till this day, by the way, still get an influx of messages from investors all the time, still looking for rent to rent deals, and ready to move really, really quickly. So that's where I put my focus. Um, and as I said, income started to grow. So went from just, having normal jobs, making your normal 1,500, £2,000 per month, to being able to make 6 grand in a month, 7 grand, 8 grand, hitting finally being able to hit those 10 grand months. This was a month where I hit almost 20 grand. So I sold like 3 deals in a row, all to the same investor, and also a few others at the same time. So it was like almost 20 grand, and managed to start hitting those 10 to 15 grand months quite consistently. And that was, again, a huge, huge transformation for me, going from, again, struggling to get a deal over the line altogether and actually get paid on it to, we sell a deal within a couple of days and watching that bank balance just grow over and over again. And now this is what I've been teaching my mentees since 2021, successfully. In my opinion, we have some of, if not the best results in the industry when it comes to deal sourcing. I'm super transparent with the results as well. So if you're following me on Facebook, or you guys are all in the free school community, you'll see I've posted as much of the results as I could. Again, we're in almost 200 now, so it's difficult to keep up, but we try and post as much as we can. and we're just transparent. We show who the people are, their full names are there, you can see them, they're on Facebook, they post their results as well. And I've been doing this consistently since 2021. So I just want to show you a few examples. I mentioned at the start of this call that there's been more sales since this presentation was updated last. So this isn't even the most recent, but again, some of them are quite recent, like John, for example. So this is just January this year. John only started working with me in December, by the way. So John started working with me the end of December 2024, and this is him selling his first deal. He actually sold his first deal in December, by the way, but I wasn't aware of it, which is actually quite funny. He only actually told me once he started selling more deals, and we had a chat, and he was like, I just wanted to let you know that actually wasn't the first sale. I managed to get another one across the line. But I didn't want to tell you yet because I believe he wasn't sure whether it was a fluke or not, right? But now John is selling deals near enough every week, and he's been doing so back to back since December, since him working with me. This is just one of his sales. You can see here, and he got paid £3,000. Can everyone still see the screen, by the way? Can everyone still hear me okay and see the screen? Just give me a yes. Can you see John's screenshot? Brilliant. Okay, everyone can see it. Amazing. So yeah, that's one of John Solo. This is another one. This is like 2 weeks ago. Another one of his sales. He just had another sale last week. But this is another one. Look, he got paid £3,000 here. Another successful deal completed. Payment received. We also have Karan and Kent. These are both mentees in the program. They have sold multiple deals together since joining the program. And this was just another one of them where they actually made 10 grand in just under a week and a half. They sold 4 rent-to-rent HMOs to one investor. So Kent actually found the landlord using the steps. So he found him in a group. He used the script. He just had the conversation and it explained the benefits of doing what we proposed to that landlord in the way that I talk about, and managed to actually secure 4 properties from him. This landlord was only advertising 1 initially. And once he managed to get on a phone call with Kent and have a really good call, he explained to Kent that he actually had 3 others. So Kent ended up securing 4 rent-to-rent HMOs, and Karan just happened to have an investor on his qualified investor list that we had built that was interested in all 4, and he ended up taking all 4 deals in one go. So he paid them 7.5 grand here, you can see initially, and he paid them the remaining 2.5K like a week later. Everything was done and dusted, paperwork signed, keys handed over. He's happy. Again, he's actually purchased deals from them since again. So this was crazy. This was again, these are people that before they started working with me was not deal sources, right? So to go from not knowing what to do, not selling any deals, to be able to bank £10,000 in just over a week, so less than 2 weeks, is absolutely crazy. And they still sell deals till this day. This is actually Karan here again, selling another deal more recently. As you can see here, look, he posted another deal sold, £3,000. He got banked there. I said, boom, congratulations, Karan. He said, thanks, Gary. All your knowledge, getting to work. And he's just crushing it, just selling deal after deal after deal. This is also Kent, the gentleman who sold the £10,000, done the £10,000 with him. He's also selling deal after deal. This is another one of his deals he sold. He actually sold another deal with a client in the program called Ade. This is her school, actually Facebook handle. So her actual name is Ade. But they closed another sale, made another 3 grand together. And these guys continue to sell deals back to back. This is Nana, another one of my mentees, made £10,000 in one go selling a block deal. Again, started from scratch and then went on to sell another deal, another block deal the following month and get paid a similar amount. It was like just over 10K. Absolutely crushing it. Back to back, 2 months in a row. Also has sold many individual units as well, has been making the 3Ks per deal. Absolutely crushing it. That's Nana. By the way, guys, all of these investors that are buying these deals from these guys, so this person that's bought the deal from Nana, the block deal, and paid her 10 grand in one go, and the other person who's purchased the other block deal, the guys that are purchasing the deals from Kent and Karan and John, they found these guys in free Facebook groups. I'm going to show you exactly how and the magic behind that, but just keep in mind they found these investors for free. They didn't put a Facebook ad out. They didn't have to pay, an influencer to put an advert on their page, or they didn't have to do any of that. They literally just utilized the free Facebook groups that all of us have access to, and just leverage those groups in the way that I teach. So just keep that in mind. They haven't spent a penny to find these buyers. Also, the deals as well. So, like I said, Kent found that those 4 deals just in a free group. Ended up speaking with the landlord, secured those deals. Nana got these deals again direct to I think on one of them she got direct from a developer. Um, Again, didn't have to put a penny into those deals, and she sold that deal to an investor she found in a free Facebook group, added to her list. And the same thing with the other one she got from a co-sourcer. So all of these deals and all of these buyers have come for free, just because these guys understand how to navigate the free Facebook groups, which is exactly what I'm going to show you guys, right? So I just wanted to make that clear. Does that make sense? Does everyone understand what I'm saying? Just give me a yes in the chat. Zaya says yes. Rachel says yes. Barry, Eleanor, Test. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so this is Jane. This is Jane's first sale as well. Jane has sold many deals since this. This is just January this year, so a couple of months ago. First deal paid. I think I spoke about this one at the start of the call. So 6.5 grand, which was her share of the £13,000 sourcing fee. This was another rent-to-rent block deal that these guys sold. You can see she couldn't believe it. Look, can't believe it. Couldn't have done it without you and Charlie. Charlie's one of my teammates. Helps me out with the program, and so thank you so much. And yeah, just amazing. She said thank you, all down to your amazing training, and she's put the work in. Of course, look, the training helps, the support helps, the accountability helps, all of the resources. I mean, we give a lot to the mentees. We do daily support calls with them, so there's a lot of time and effort put in, but they still have to do the work. They still have to follow what we're telling them to do, so it was just amazing to see her do that. And again, she's someone who started from scratch. What I love about Jane as well is full-time mum, working full-time, so has a job, and still manages to do this. Still manages to juggle this. When she actually started working with me at first, the kids were actually off school. I think she might have actually joined around December, same time as John. So the kids were off school at the time. It was holiday period, and she still managed to do this. She still managed to build her list and get to a point where she could sell a deal like this and many deals back to back since. So it's very doable, guys. And the reason why I like showing these examples, by the way, is because I'm just thinking of the goals that you guys mentioned earlier: 5K, 6K, 10K, right? Nobody really mentioned anything above 10K. But look, you're seeing it. Look, this was one sale for 13 grand. That investor paid them 13 grand. Now, she only walked away with 6.5 grand. I say only, still a good amount of money, but she walked away with 50% because this wasn't one that she found directly. But if she did, that full 13 grand would have been hers in one go, right? Which, by the way, this took them just over a week and a few days to do. So when you put it into perspective, what you guys are aiming for is super realistic. You just need to know what to do, right? So that's Jane. Look, this is another one of Jane's. Look, this was just last month, end of last month. You can see, look, hi Gary, not been around much, but I'm staying consistent and grafting behind the scenes. I just haven't had a chance to come on the calls. I've been too busy implementing, which is what I love to see. Just wanted to let you know I sold another one last night, 12 hours from viewing to completion and being paid. I also have 4 others under offer, so still negotiating. Again, thank you. So yeah, Jane absolutely crushing it, and she has already sold, I think, 2 or 3 of the other 4 that she was negotiating on. Definitely 2 of them have already sold, and she's still selling deals. So amazing. That was another 3 grand that she got paid within 12 hours. 12 hours, guys. She made 3 grand. This is another one of my clients, Monday David, lovely gentleman. Again, selling deals back to back. He's working full time. He has a full-time job and he's still doing this. You can see here. You guys can see the 3K that he's been paid there, the sourcing fee. Just give me a yes if you can see that. Perfect. Just want to make sure everyone can see. So yeah, I mean, he's doing this kind of part-time, to be honest, because he's working full-time and he's still managing to do this. And this took him a couple of days to complete. He's sold more deals since. And yeah, just absolutely crushing it. That's Monday. We've also got Hayden, another one of the clients. this wasn't their first sale. They've actually sold many deals since joining the program, but this is just one of the weekends where they crushed it. They made $5,000 that weekend, sold 3 units. I think 1 or 2 of them were co-sourced and one was direct. And yeah, $5,000 in a weekend. Can't go wrong at all. This is also Tarun, another one of my mentees. As you can see here, he says, hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I sold 1 deal last week, Friday, and a second deal today. One was co-sourced and the second was my own. Happy Monday. And with this, what it was is, so we're selling these deals for £3,000 each. And when we're co-sourcing them, we're splitting the fee 50-50. So £1,500 you'd walk away from a co-source deal with. So on this, what happened was it was the same investor that took both deals. So Tarun actually gave them a little discount. So he actually, instead of walking away with, what would that have been, $4,500, he walked away with $4,000. So he gave them a £500 discount. So he made $4,000 in 4 days, literally. So amazing. That's Tarun, and he's still selling deals, by the way. All of these guys, by the way, I mean, these examples I'm showing you are just 1 or 2 of their sales. All of them are selling deal after deal after deal. This is Denise, another person who joined the program. And within her first 3 weeks of working with me, she got this sale. This was her first sale. Took her 3 days to do, as you can see here. So £3,000 in the bag. You can see the £3,000 hitting her account. And she said, what a beautiful morning. £3,000 in the bag in 3 days. Absolutely fantastic. My first deal done and dusted in 72 hours. I sure had to work, right? Amazing. 3 days, £3,000 starting from scratch. When I'd done my first call with Denise, she was at work. She was literally at work, sitting at her desk with her headphones on, kind of like probably wasn't even supposed to be on the phone to me. So kind of speaking under her breath. So to see her go from that to doing this, and also we can also see here, she also sold another 2 deals about a week after that, made £5,500 that weekend, which you can see here. Sunday fun day, 2 deals in 31 minutes. And yeah, you can see, look, 2,500 on one of them. And because that same investor purchased both deals, she gave them a £500 discount. So she ended up being paid 2,500 for one and 3,000 for one, the other. Right, so still amazing. £5,500 in 1 weekend. This is a lady who started from scratch. On our first call, she literally said, Gary, I have no idea what to do, so you're gonna have to teach me everything from the ground up. And I said, no problem. And we literally just work together every day. Right, so it's 24/7 support, daily phone calls, everything that they need to be able to get these results, essentially. So that's Denise. Zara, another one of my star players, Zara. This was one of the months she sold 5 deals. So I was mentioning to you guys earlier who was speaking about, the 10Ks per month. I said, look, that's about 4 sales a month. But as you can see here, this was a month where Zara sold 5. So she made £15,000 that month. She actually ended up selling 6 that month, right? So this was, towards the end of that month, and then she sold another one just before the end. But it was just over 15,000 she made altogether, if I remember rightly, which was absolutely crazy. Crushed it, absolutely crushed it. Again, another person who, when she started working with me, had a full-time job, ended up leaving her job as she could afford to, and started investing in her own deals. By the way, we've got many people who have started working with us. They were working full-time and they are now doing this full-time, right? The money they've made from deal sourcing has allowed them to leave their job. And just put it into perspective, look, this is somebody who's made almost 16,000 in 1 month. The average wage in the UK is what, 2,000, 2,500, I think it is, per month. So when you start looking at that, like, she's almost made what someone would make in a whole year in 1 month, right? She hasn't hit it completely, but she's not far off, right? So yeah, absolutely been life changing for Zara and many others. This is Nath, another one. Not to drag it on for too long, guys, but I just want you to see, you know, that this is real, and there are a lot of people actively doing this right now as we speak, right? Within our community. So I just want you to see how real it is, and also, again, just to show you how realistic your goals are. So again, when you're mentioning 5 to 10K as your goal to me, in your mind that might feel unrealistic, that might feel like a really big number, but when you see normal, everyday people like yourselves. They're no smarter or better than any of you. When you see these people getting these results, right, you start to realize that it's very realistic. So this is Nath, another one of my mentees. And you can see here, this is another one of his sales since working with me. By the way, Nath made 12 grand in a month and a half of working with me from scratch. And this was just another one of his sales. You can see here, look, another one. I've been grafting hard, looking for our own deals as we kind of lost faith in co-sources due to a number of bad deals sent our way, inflated numbers, and some cases leading to nothing being agreed with the landlord. He said, I saw Gary's post about the deals in the groups. He's just referring to, so within the program group, of course, I'm constantly pushing these guys, putting in reminders, putting in, little tips and tricks here and there. And of course, we jump on daily calls as well. So I'm also holding them accountable and pushing them to do small things that don't take too much effort, as you're going to see from what Nath talks about here, but things that people don't normally do, right? You probably just wouldn't think to do it. So holding people accountable has been super valuable. So he's talking about that there, where he said, I saw Gary's post about the deals in the groups, thought I'd give it a try. I found a deal. I reached out to the sourcer. I'd done some due diligence. I packaged the deal. I sent it to the investor. This is an investor on his qualified investor list. So we never send deals to random investors, by the way, guys. Again, all of these people that we're sending these deals to are people we've found in free Facebook groups and we've extracted from Facebook and put in our group or on our investor list. He viewed same day and purchased the deal from me and Rihanna. Rihanna is Nath's partner. And look, 3.5 grand. So we actually paid a little bit more than what we actually normally charge, to be honest. We normally charge 3,000, but they managed to get a little bit more on this one. Same day. Same day. He viewed it and purchased the deal the same day, guys. Right? So they essentially made 3.5 grand in a day, which is crazy when you really think about it. They didn't put any money into the deal. He's told you there and there. Look, he got that deal from a co-sourcer, right? So he didn't even have to find the deal himself. He just leveraged the network, which you guys heard me talk about earlier. Your network is your net worth, and also leveraged the investor list that we built and managed to make 3.5 grand in one go, which is crazy. And also we have Shah, another one of my mentees, lovely gentleman. You can see here selling multiple deals. This is in the earlier days when he first sold his first couple of deals. But look, deal number 3, done. You see, if you're looking for a deal sourcing masterclass and mentoring, I highly recommend Gary Walker, who has over a decade of experience in the industry. And this was the £3,000 sourcing fee hitting his account. And I think you kind of get the picture. Just give me a yes in the chat if you get the picture, guys. And also, if anybody has any questions about any of those results that I just showed you, please, please fire away. If you'd like to know how they got those results, or let me know. Brilliant. Esther says yes. Natasha, Barry, Joshua, Eleanor, Vladimir. Okay, good. All right. So everybody's ready to start learning the actual methods that those guys used to get those results. Just give me a yes in the chat. We're actually going to get into the steps now. This is going to be more about the educational side. I've gone over my story. I hope I didn't bore you too much with that. I've shown you some real life examples. By the way, if you'd like to see more examples, I think I showed you there 10, I think about 10 or 15 between there. If you'd like to see more, as I said, we've got 150 plus. You can go on my Facebook page and just scroll through. I post it on my just on my feed, and you can go in this free school community, which every single one of you are members of. That's the only way you could have got onto this call in the first place. So you can go into that group, and there's a section that says wins. So if you go into the school group and look for the wins category or wins section and click that, we've posted as many as we can. There must be over 100 or close to 100 just on there alone, right? It's difficult to keep up with all of them, but have a scroll through and you'll see more examples, okay? All right, brilliant. Everybody's ready to go. So this is kind of the overview of the strategy that we're using. I'm going to go into each of the steps in more detail as I work my way through, but just to kind of give you the bigger picture of what we're actually doing. For those of you who have watched my training or been on a live training with me before, you would have seen this Um, you know, it's important for me to show you this because for me, the process is super simple, but when you don't get an opportunity to see it laid out like this, it can come across really complicated. But I promise you, it's so straightforward, right? Like I said, look, all of these people that I've just shown you, and all of the others that you're going to see if you go and have a quick look, they started from scratch. So it's not as though they were already in property, smashing it. You know, they know what they're doing. You know, there's a lot of those people that wasn't even sure what a rent to rent was when they first met me, right? So for them to go from that to banking £3,000 within days, you know, week in, week out, month in, month out, it shows you that it is quite straightforward if you know what you're doing, right? So, first thing I'm going to talk about is the foundations. Can everybody see the screen? Okay. Can everybody see this presentation? Okay. Do I need to zoom in or anything, or can everyone see it nice and clear? You should see the foundations. You should also see the process, and it's basically sort of a diagram. Can everybody see it? Okay. Okay, perfect. I'm going to assume everybody can see it. Okay. So the foundations, this is super important, guys. Really, really important. Honestly, like I said, I get contacted by hundreds of deal sources, you know, month by month because of the amount of content that I'm putting out about deal sourcing. And a lot of them are struggling. The reason why they're struggling is either they haven't got any of these foundations laid at all, or they've only got a few of them, right? Or they've got the foundations laid, but they're not operating properly, right? So they're not putting the pieces of the puzzle together in the right way. And that's slowing them down from selling deals consistently. Whereas the guys that I've just shown you, right, they have gone through this process with me and they've laid their foundations the right way, which is, and as you've just seen, is how they're selling deals. Look, you saw Denise, you saw Jane, 12 hours, she sold that deal. If she didn't have an investor list and she didn't have a network and she didn't have things set up in a certain way, I don't think she'd be able to do it that quick. Same thing with Denise. You saw 3 days, 72 hours, I think she said, right? And all the other examples, people selling, you know, making 5, 6, 10 grand in a weekend and things like that. That's because they've got their foundations laid the correct way. And this is something I work really closely with everyone on that joins my mentorship essentially. This is what I actually help them build so that everything else is nice and smooth. So I'm going to go through it with you guys so you have all of that information as well, and you'll pretty much know what you need to do after the call. So the first foundation that you need to lay, super important, is the Facebook groups, the free Facebook groups. I talk a lot about the fact that, of course, because we're covering rent to rent, so it's rent to rent deals we're selling mainly, right? Um, we need to be where the biggest rent to rent community is. And if you look online, if you do your own research, I've done my research, but if you want to do your own, if you go and look on all the other platforms like LinkedIn, like Instagram, like what's the other one? Snapchat, TikTok, all of them, any of the other platforms, none of them have the same presence in terms of rent to rent community as Facebook does, and especially the Facebook groups, right? I'll give you an example. On Facebook, you're going to go into rent to, well, firstly, there's hundreds of rent to rent groups on Facebook. That's the first thing, which you won't find anywhere else. But also within those groups, there are literally thousands and thousands of people, thousands. And these are niche specific Facebook groups. So, of course, if we're going to be focusing on selling rent to rent deals, it makes sense that we're going to be in every group that is specifically focused on rent to rent and has thousands and thousands of people in it. I'm going to actually show you some of those groups in a second. But that's the first foundation. Does that make sense, guys? Keep in mind as well, on that point, in those groups, you have investors, you have agents, you have co-sourcers, right? You have landlords in some of them. So everybody that you essentially need to work with is in those groups. Also, the data that's in those groups, which is what a lot of people miss. You have to think some of these groups have been around for years and years and years. And like I said, it also has thousands and thousands of people in them. Some of them have like 20, 40, 50,000 people in them, right? So that's a lot of data that goes back. These are people that have been commenting on posts, responding to posts, posting their own requirements and things like that. Like loads of information is just being pumped into these groups, and that's super valuable for us if we know how to navigate the groups and find it. So that's something I'm going to walk you through shortly. But essentially, that's the first foundation: getting yourself inside the free Facebook groups. Does everybody understand that? Does everybody understand why I'm saying it's important to get in the free Facebook groups? Just give me a yes if you understand. Eleanor said, do you have contracts that go along with these deals? Yes, definitely. Have to do your paperwork. I'm going to go through the paperwork and everything with you in a second, what you need. But yes, definitely have to have paperwork. Okay, Zaya said yes. iPad says yes. Rachel, yes. Vladimir, yes. Barry, yes. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Everybody understands, right? So free Facebook groups. If you are not in free rent to rent Facebook groups already, then and you're trying to, for example, find deals, right? I had somebody reach out to me yesterday, brand new, just started sourcing, and said, Gary, look, I'm trying to become a sourcer, trying to find deals. Like, how do I find deals? What should I say to landlords, etc.? So I started like asking questions and essentially going through the foundations to see what ones they had laid. And when I asked them about the free Facebook groups, they were in like two groups, literally. And I said, you're already starting off on the wrong foot. You need to be inside these Facebook groups because that's where everybody that you need, all the information that you need is hanging out. Right. So that's the first thing. You have to get that right. I'm going to show you, I'm going to go over each of these steps in more detail in a second, but I'm just giving you the overview really quickly. Right. Okay. Eleanor says, I have my original contract for sourcing buy to let, but don't know how it works with rent to rent. Okay. So yeah, that's going to be a different agreement. That's going to be a completely different agreement. I'm gonna go over the paperwork and stuff like that for you in a second, and then don't you worry. I'm gonna cover all corners, all bases. Don't you worry. Okay, and Esther said, "How do I join the free Facebook group?" So I'm gonna go over that in a second. I'm gonna go over each of these in more detail as I go through the presentation. So I'm just giving you an overview right now, right? So just bear with me, guys. Okay, so Facebook groups. That's the first foundation. So everybody seems to understand that, which is great. Second foundation, right? So now that you're in the free Facebook groups, and like I said, you have access to all the people and the data. The second foundation is your high demand areas. So if you guys think back to my own story, what I mentioned was that I kind of was running around like a headless chicken, right? So I had no structure, no direction. I was trying to do any and every type of deal, but also in any area. I didn't really care what area I was doing anything in. Um, so this is really, really important because over the years, from speaking with hundreds and hundreds of sources that you know were struggling, what I found is that this is one of the reasons is that they don't have any structure. There's no focus, right? So you're kind of all over the place. Whereas if you just pick three high demand areas, and by the way, this is not based on logistics. So this isn't based on where you live or you know being close to where you live. Because as I mentioned to you guys earlier, we are not attending any viewings. This is 100% remote. Every sale I just showed you from the guys, they did not see those properties. They did not meet anyone, right? So you need to pick three areas, but base it strictly on demand. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second, right? So that's the second foundation. So first foundation, get ourselves into the groups, the niche specific rent to rent groups. So we have access to everything we need. We're going to use the data in those groups to pick three high demand areas. So these are areas that we already know there's investors actively looking for deals in abundance, right? We don't want to cover an area that there's not many people looking for deals there because we're going to struggle, right? So that's the second foundation. The third foundation is the qualified investor list, as you can see here. And I always say, on this, I didn't intentionally do this, but on this diagram, the investor list sitting right in the middle here, as it is kind of like the middle of the whole presentation, the whole diagram. It's really fitting because for me, your investor list is the backbone of your business for your deal sourcing business, 100%. You know, there's people that come into this and straight away they focus on trying to find deals, and they think that if I find the deals, the good investors will just appear out of thin air. It doesn't work that way at all. I've tried it, and I've worked with hundreds of others that have tried it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have tried it, and you see it just doesn't work that way, right? Whereas if you start by focusing on your qualified investor list and you understand that the value is in the list, then you put yourself in a powerful position. So whether you have deals yourself or not, you can still make money in this business as long as you have a strong qualified investor list. So, for example, if Vladimir has a qualified investor list built, so he has, for example, I don't know, 10, 15 qualified, serious investors that he's spoken with and he's gone through all these questions with, and he knows they are ready to go. They will take a deal off of him if it fits within a matter of days. If he has a list like that, but he's struggling to find deals, for example, he can come to me, for example, if I have deals, but I'm struggling to find the serious buyers, and he can make money just by doing that, just by forming that relationship with me. Hey, Gary, look, I've got serious investors, but I haven't got any deals. What have you got right now? And he can just take my deals that I've already done the work to go out and find the landlord, have the conversations, do the due diligence, package the deal. He can take that already packaged deal, put it in front of his list, sell the deal, and be paid within days without him ever even having to speak to that landlord or that estate agent, right? Just because he has that investor list. Whereas when you try and do it the other way, you don't have that power. You have the deal, but you have to wait for that serious investor to come out of the woodworks to buy, right? And you have to filter through all of the unserious ones. Whereas when you already have that serious list built, waiting, and when I say waiting, I mean literally these guys will be contacting you. Hey Gary, what, any new deals? What have you got this week? You know, when you've got a serious list, that's what they do. When you're in that position, you bring a lot more value to the table than someone who just has the deal, right? So for me, your qualified investor list is the backbone of your business. And every single person that I've just shown you in the examples and all the people I post on my page that are getting the sales, getting the results, this is what they have done. They followed this process, right? And by the way, this is in order, guys. So it's Facebook groups first, then it's picking your areas using the data you've got in the groups. And then now that you've got your areas, it's building the qualified investor list in those areas. So if you want to pick just one area out of three, that's fine. I've got guys in the program that are crushing it in one area. You know, I have a lady called Miriam in the group who made 10 grand in a week in one area, you know. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with covering one area, but I wouldn't go above three, because now you can kind of overwhelm yourself and it's a little bit more, just a lot more to manage, right? If you just do three or one or two, then you can manage, but you can also dominate. Does that make sense, guys? Give me a yes if that makes sense before I carry on going. Qualified investor list, that is the backbone of your deal sourcing business. It's also worth noting, you know, the landlords are going to put you on a timer when they say yes to doing a deal with you. So the minute a landlord says yes, they are expecting you to move fairly quickly with what you've proposed, right? And if you can't, then you lose that relationship, you lose that deal. Whereas once you add that investor to your list, you could not send him a deal for 6 months, right? The next time you speak to him, he's not going to say to you, Gary, you haven't sent me a deal for 6 months, get me off the list. He will stay on that list forever. We have investors on our list that have been there for years and years, right? We have investors on the list that are buying deals from us over and over and over again, right? So that's where the value is. They don't go anywhere. And of course, they are the people that actually pay your sourcing fee. So that's where your value is. That's where you should put a large majority of your attention, especially to begin with, to get that list right. So the rest is a lot easier. Yeah. Okay. So everyone says yes. Everyone gets that. iPad said, so you get investors on Facebook groups. Yes. All of the investors, all of the investors that have purchased all of the deals that I've just shown you, for those of you who joined the call late and you didn't see the examples I was going through, I just showed you about 12, 13 examples of my mentees that are personally working with me that are making £3,000 plus per month, per week. Showed you many examples of people, you know, absolutely crushing it. 6 grand in a week. 10 grand in a week, 10 grand in 2 weeks, 3 grand in a week, etc., etc. So essentially, we find all of those people in Facebook groups, free Facebook groups, all of those buyers. We are not spending a penny on ads. We are not paying anyone to introduce us to these investors. We are not posting deals in groups and then just waiting for those serious investors to come to us. I've got a proactive approach, which is how we build those lists very quickly. And as you see, those people end up buying deals from us. So we literally are finding them in those Facebook groups, to answer your question. iPad. Sorry, iPad. It still says iPad. I don't know what your name is. So I apologies for not addressing you by your name. Natasha said, "Sorry, Gary. You wreck the limit is up to 3 deals per week." Just rewrite that for me, Natasha. I'm not too sure what you're asking. Are you saying? I'm not too sure what you're asking. Just ask that question again for me, please. Apologies. Okay, so and I'll definitely stop and come back to it. But okay, so qualified investor list. So the next step, guys. So if we just quickly rewind, it's 3 Facebook groups first, niche specific, very, very important. So I don't want you just joining any and every Facebook group. Of course, it just doesn't make sense. The people that you're looking for aren't going to be in those groups, right? All the people that you're looking for are literally in those niche specific groups. So getting in those groups, picking your areas based on demand, building your investor lists for those areas, so the high demand areas. And then the next step is going to be building your network, which is again a very important step, of course. For me, the best order to do it in is start off by working with co-sources or building your co-sourcing network first, right? Reason being, as I just kind of explained, these guys have already gone out, found the landlords that are open to doing what we're doing, got the yes, they've already packaged the deal. Everything's done in terms of that side. The deal just needs to be sold, and that's where we come in. We just need to take the deal, put it in front of our list, and sell it, right? We already have the investors waiting. So that's like the quickest way to start selling deals. Whereas if we're going to start reaching out to landlords directly first, you've got to, of course, speak to the landlords, and you're going to get no's, right? You've got to go through the no's to get the yeses, to get the landlord deals. Same thing with agents. You've got to speak to the agents and go through the no's to get to the yes, where you form those very valuable relationships, right? Whereas with the co-sourcers, you connect with a co-sourcer, he can start sending you deals straight away if he's already actively sourcing. So I feel that that's like the best way to start off after you've built your investor list. And that's how a large majority of us have sold our first few deals. I sold my first few deals with a co-sourcer, someone who's still a good friend till this day. And yeah, you just build some really valuable relationships. So you start off with the co-sourcers. Does everybody understand that? Remember what I said, guys. I'm going to go through each of these steps in more detail. So I'm going to break down how to do them. But this is just the overview. So does everybody understand that after qualified investors, we are building our network? And firstly, it's going to be co-sourcers within that network. Just give me a yes if that makes sense. Vladimir says yes. Okay, brilliant. Esther says yes. Zaya says yes. Everybody understands? Rachel says yes. Eleanor says yes. Okay, good. I'm going to assume everybody gets it, right? So essentially, we're going to build our network of co-sources first. So by the way, guys, all of this information and all of like, as you're building all of this, you're going to store it in either a CRM, if you're someone who uses a CRM, or a simple spreadsheet. Now, again, my guys, when they start working with me, I provide all of that for them. So straight away, they haven't got to create anything. It's there. And essentially, they can house all of this information, investor lists, the network, whether it's co-sources, agents, landlords, deals, everything. So you want to make sure that everything's nice and tidy and easy to find in one place. So agents is next. We've already built the co-sourcer network now. So we're going to start speaking with agents, estate agents, letting agents in the local area that we've picked, and starting those relationships. If they are open to sending us corporate lets or properties where the landlord's happy for a company to rent it, then we can form a good relationship and sell some deals via them as well. So that's how you start building your network. I'm going to show you how to find all of those people, but that's what you're going to be doing. Is everybody clear on that? Just give me a yes or a thumbs up or some sort of signal to let me know that that makes sense before I move on. Just give me a yes in the chat, guys. Brilliant. Okay, good. All right. So we've built our network. So now we have co-sourcers sending us deals. And by the way, if you set this up the right way, you will have new deals to sell every week. My guys, I mean, we do a call every day, Monday to Friday, but our Monday call, of course, is starting the week off. And every Monday when I speak to my guys, one thing that is always a case is there are new deals. And in a lot of cases, especially on a Monday, because we've just started the week, a lot of those new deals that are ready like straight away have come from the network of co-sources. So it is really, really powerful if it's set up the right way. Because that means that before you've even started speaking to your agents or reaching out to landlords, there's already deals there ready to be sold. There's already money to be made, right? Um, so that's how we set up that part. So the next step, of course, is speaking to motivated landlords and developers directly. And this is really where you actually make the most money, to be honest, especially if you've built your list the way that I show you, because there's nobody else involved. There's no co-sourcer, there's no agent. So we don't have to, split our fee with the co-sourcer. We don't have to pay a referral fee to an agent, which some agents do ask for. Not all of them. Some of them are fine just being paid by their landlord, but some of them will want a little referral fee from us. But if we're getting the deal direct, straight from the landlord or straight from the developer and selling it straight to one of these investors we're adding to our list, we walk away with the full fee. So it's just something to keep in mind. It is the longer process because as I said, you have to speak to the landlords to get to that yes, to get that deal. Whereas with the co-sources, the deals are already there. But that is the way that you're going to walk away with the full fee rather than half the fee. I mean, look, we do both, and I'll show you how to have a good mixture of both anyway. Does that make sense, guys? In terms of the foundations, free Facebook groups, high demand areas, free maximum, qualified investor list, your network of co-sources and agents, your motivated landlords and developers. Does everybody understand the foundations? And but again, it is in order, so that everybody understands in what order you're supposed to be doing it. Just give me a yes in the chat. Brilliant. Thank you, Zaya. Rachel says yes. Thank you, Rachel. Hugh, brilliant. Barry, Vladimir. Okay, good. All right, guys. So those are the foundations. And I'm just going to quickly whiz around the actual process as well. And then we're going to go into how you're actually going to set up these foundations in order to get this up and running, right? So now that we've got all the foundations laid, the first thing we're going to do, as I mentioned earlier, is you're going to start speaking to your co-sources, right? You're going to get deals from co-sources, you're going to get deals from agents, but you're also going to get deals directly from landlords as well, of course. So what happens is, and if you just look here on the screen, when we get our deals from the landlords or developers, we're going to do our due diligence, right? So you can find landlords and developers on any classified websites, right? Bob, can you still hear me okay? Bob said it's a bad connection. Can everybody hear me okay? Just give me a yes if you can still hear me okay. Okay, Bob, I think it might be on just on your side because everybody else is saying that they can hear okay. So just maybe refresh the page or come out of the room and come back in, Bob. That might make a difference. This is being recorded though, so don't worry. If you've missed anything, I will you'll be able to watch the replay, so you should be fine. Okay. But in terms of, you said how can I find my qualified investor list? I haven't got to that part just yet, so don't worry, you haven't missed it. We're going to get to that in just a second. So at the moment, we're talking about the actual process, right? So we've laid our foundations, as you can see here on the screen, and now we are, for example, speaking with landlords and developers. You'll find those on any classified websites. I'll go into more detail about that shortly, but you find them on classified websites. And once we've found them, we reach out. If the property is still available, we're going to do our due diligence if they're open to what we're proposing. And due diligence just means looking at comparable properties, guys, and kind of crunching your numbers to make sure the deal would actually make sense for an investor. So you do your DD. Once you've got your numbers, you go back to the landlord or developer with a proposal, basically letting them know whether you can go ahead with the rent that they're asking for, or if you need to negotiate, right? Put your proposal forward. If they're happy with it, we get something called a heads of terms document signed. Now, somebody asked earlier, apologies, I can't remember the name, but someone asked about the documents you need. So now, these, take note, because these are, I'm going to kind of mention all of the documents you're going to be needing to do these deals. And this is sort of the first one, because the heads of terms agreement is the document that you use to actually formally agree these rent to rent deals, right? What you'll find is there's a lot of cowboy deal sources who are actually, I mean, I can't even really call it securing a deal because it's not securing it, but essentially securing a deal without getting anything signed, with nothing in writing, just off a verbal conversation. But I could also tell you story after story after story about those types of deals falling out of bed, landlords, saying they wasn't aware of what was going on, or they didn't understand what was being presented, and essentially those people just did not tie these deals up properly. So we make sure we do everything properly. The landlord understands exactly what we're proposing, how it works. We put, as I said, we put heads of terms agreement in front of them, which essentially just outlines what is going to be done. So they'll know exactly what's happening, what the rent's going to be, how long the agreement's going to be for, what the client's going to be using the property for, etc., etc., etc. Everything is on that document so that they know exactly what we're doing moving forward. So once you've got that sign from the landlord, you actually have the deal secured. It's ready to be sold, right? So that's when you get a deal from a landlord. Similar thing from when you get it from a network. Now, if it's come from a co-sourcer, you still, I mean, whether it's from a co-sourcer or an agent, you want to still do your DD. You want to still look at the numbers, make sure the deal makes sense before you send it to your list. And by the way, due diligence should only take a few minutes, guys. I've spoken to people before who have said, "Oh, I'm struggling with due diligence, don't know how to do it, it's taking me too long." And I'm like, look, obviously you don't know what you're doing, but once you do, it should only take you a few minutes. That should be a very quick check before you go back, right? So you're doing your DD, and as long as everything looks okay and stacks up, you want to just confirm that something has been signed. Have they got a heads of terms signed, or some sort of document to actually secure the deal formally? Now, you're not speaking directly with the landlord on these ones, so you have to confirm it with the person you're working with, which is fine. It's normal, very normal. But once we know that everything's been secured properly, the deal is obviously secured. So the next step, after deals are secured via landlords, developers, co-sources, agents, wherever it's come from, is to present them to our qualified investor list, which is where the magic happens, right? What you saw me kind of show you earlier with my guys selling all of those deals, that's happened because of this part of the process. It without that being set up properly, they would not have got those results so quickly, right? They may not even have got the results at all. So we send the deals out to our list via WhatsApp, text, or email. It can be either of those. Doesn't really matter which one. I prefer WhatsApp personally. WhatsApp has the best open rate by far, best response rate. So I would say use WhatsApp. Um, but the most important part of kind of this process is going to be the follow up. So when you send your deals out, of course, you're going to have some investors that respond when you send it, right? And if they're interested, you speak to them, you give them the answers to whatever they want to know, you put them in for review. And those people are quite easy, quite straightforward, because they've responded to you from you sending the deal out. But where a lot of people miss out and leave money on the table is not following up with the people who don't respond. And this is like a big thing, huge thing, because I could literally give you example after example of my guys when they first start working with me. Of course, not intentionally, but not realizing that they were doing that. And then I've kind of got involved and we've done follow-up calls to those investors together, and they've sold deals just by picking up the phone and calling their clients. The reason why is because what we don't realize is, and what we fail to remember is, we're dealing with human beings, right? So usually what happens is a deal sourcer sends a deal out or sends deals out, and if somebody doesn't respond, they just assume that that person's either not interested or they're not serious. So they don't even try to find out what's going on. They just kind of leave it. Okay, I sent this deal out to a list of 10, 3 people responded. That means there's only 3 people interested, right? Which is a big mistake. Because what happens is when we get these investors on the phone, you find out, sorry, Gary, I didn't even see the message with the deal in it, right? Or sorry, Gary, I was so busy, I saw it, but I got distracted, I didn't get a chance to respond, etc., etc., etc. Right? In a lot of cases, there's a reason why they haven't responded. So when you get them on the phone, you now firstly point their attention to the deal. So now they're aware that there's actually a deal. But also, if they haven't seen the deal, you can discuss it with them there and then, right? The phone is your most powerful tool in this business. I promise you. You will sell so much more deals just by picking up the phone. We do it week in, week out. So yeah, like I said, look, once you've got them on the phone, you can kind of tackle any objections if there's any, answer questions, find out when they're free for a viewing, break the deal down to them. Like, you have them on the phone now, you can cover a lot. So the follow-up calls are super important. So now you've found out who's interested and who wants to view. We need them to sign your NDA. So now it's another important document, your non-disclosure agreement. And essentially all that does is it protects you from the investor being able to cut you out of the deal, because obviously we're sending them to go and view these properties, but we're not there physically. So we need to make sure that we're covered. So when we're talking about an investor, we need them to sign our NDA, but also when we have a deal that's come from a co-sourcer, we also need our co-sourcer to sign an NDA, which is a different NDA. You've got one for an investor, one for a co-sourcer. And the one with the co-sourcer just basically says, you cannot take my client or communicate with my client that I've introduced to this deal or any deals moving forward without consulting me first. So it just, again, it protects you on both sides. It means your client can't just take the deal without paying you, and it means the co-sourcer you're working with can't take your client. Does that make sense? Just give me a yes in the chat if that makes sense, guys. Very important that you have these documents signed. I've seen people talk about being burnt in the groups, and whenever I reach out to them and I ask, not my clients, I'm talking about just people that are sourcing and complaining about not being paid fees or whatever the situation is. And when I speak with them, 99% of the time, they have not got anything signed, right? And you're leaving yourself open. You're not protecting yourself. So this is something that I'm really big on, making sure that all the paperwork is done before we start giving out any information, any sensitive information where someone can cut us out, right? Okay, Zaya said yes. Bob says yes. Vladimir says yes. Let me just make sure I'm not missing any questions, guys. I'm just going to scroll back up very quickly. Okay, so Bob said, how can I get the recording? The recording is going to be in the free school group, Bob. So when we finish the call, when the call ends, then Zoom will send me the recording and then I just upload it straight to the group. So just keep an eye out. I will normally put a post and tag everyone so you'll know it's there. Or just shoot me a message after the group, just reminding me after the call, reminding me to send it to you, and then I'll know to come back and send it over to you. Esther said, can we get a sample of heads of terms agreement? I don't have a sample to give you, to be honest with you. I have all of the actual documents, a whole document pack to give. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, what I can give you. I don't really have samples to give you, but of course, look, all of these documents are out there for you to like purchase or get written up. They're all out there, of course. But I just, for people who are working directly with me, I provide all of that in one go, so you don't have to go out there and source it. You have the whole pack. Every single document that you will need to do these deals, to get a deal from A to Z, I provide it for people who work with me on the mentorship. But the information I'm going to give you on this call, you'll be able to go away and do all of this, whether you work with me or not, you know? So, okay, I hope that answers your question, Esther. And Eleanor says you chat, yeah, or you can use Chat GPT, of course. Definitely, you can. You can use AI to do these things. Look, but remember, they're legal documents, so you need to make sure you know what clauses are supposed to be in them, etc., etc. So that's why I say, look, that's why I mentioned solicitors. AI can only do what you prompt it to do. So if you're not giving it the right legalities, then you can get yourself in trouble if so that is the where was we? NDA signed by the investor to protect yourself and the co-sourcers to protect yourself, right? So the next step is, now that you're protected, is to get them in for a viewing. Because as I always say to people, a client really makes their decision once they go through the doors and view a property in real life. That's like an estate agent rule of thumb. I take something that I took from my the few years I was an estate agent in the early days. Very important. It's something my boss used to kind of drill into all of us, is that get them through the doors. Very important, because when they see it themselves, it's not based anymore on what you've told them. Now they can get a true appreciation for what they can do with that property, the sizes, how much work needs to be done, the location. They'll look around the property as well, and so that's usually when they'll decide. So once we've sent someone through the doors, and usually, again, because we've built a list, we send multiple investors through the door. Once they're interested, they will make an offer after that viewing, right? So again, we're not there, we're not present, but we catch up with them straight after the viewing. And if they would like to make an offer, they give it to us verbally, of course, first, and then we'll ask them to send it to us in writing as well. Excuse me. Send it to us in writing as well, so we've got it formally. Now, we will present the offer to the landlord or the agent, if it's coming via an agent or co-sourcer, just to make sure that they're clear on what our clients are thinking. And if the landlord accepts, then we go into the sales process, right? And it's a very, very quick process. Let me just grab some water, guys. Sorry, I got a little cough. So it's a very quick process. Essentially, what will happen is we will provide the draft lease agreements for both parties, so the landlord and the investor. Don't get me wrong, some investors will have their own contracts, by the way, their own lease agreements, but most of them will expect a deal sourcer, the person in the middle putting the deal together, to have the contracts ready to be signed. So we provide the draft contracts, make sure that everybody's happy with what the terms are going to be. And if they are, then we provide the final agreements, usually via an e-signature platform, DocuSign, or whichever platform you want to use, and both parties will sign. So once both parties have signed that formal agreement, the lease agreement, that agreement, that deal is actually complete legally. That's a legally binding contract. So once that is signed by both parties, you as the deal sourcer are now owed your fee, right? The sourcing fee is now due. Of course, the keys haven't been released, right? And if there's any, other arrangements that need to be dealt with, those haven't been done. But because the contracts have been signed by both parties, and I made a video about this just recently, speaking about, understanding this, is that the landlord and the investor are not going to sign that agreement without them being happy with what the terms are, right? So essentially, if they've both signed it, they are in agreement that they are happy to go ahead. And like I said, it's a legally binding document anyway, right? So now your job is done. As the sourcer, essentially, there's nothing more that we can really do other than make those arrangements for keys collections and things like that. And that's the sale done. That is it. Prior to those agreements, let me just rewind, because of course there are small little things that you have to do as well. There has to be checks done on the owner. So we have to do our land registry checks with ID. So we're making sure that the person we're actually speaking to, saying they're the landlord, is the owner of the property. We're also doing our checks on the investor. So the company that they're taking these properties on with, we want to cross-reference them with their IDs and with Companies House to make sure the person who's supposed to be the director is the director. So we do these small checks, again, very quick. These are things that can be done within an hour, right? Online. And once we're happy with all of that, like I said, final contracts are signed. Once final contracts are signed, if there is anything owed to the landlord up front, like deposit or first month's rent, the investor will pay that directly to them. If the deals come from an agent, usually it will be paid via the agent. So they'll pay it to the agent. Agent will pay the landlord. Once that is done, the sourcing fee also needs to be paid to us, so the £3,000 fee. So that will, both of those payments will be made at the same time, by the way. So it's not, the sourcing fee isn't paid after the landlord is paid. Once the contract is signed, the landlord and us are both now due the fees or the payments, right? And once those payments have been cleared by the investor, we make arrangements for the keys to be released. Now, again, we don't have to be present for that. The landlord will release the keys, or the agent, or the co-sourcer, or if the property is tenanted and about to be vacant, the tenant might release the keys. We make those arrangements. But again, we can do all of that over the phone. Okay. So where was we? Sales, and that is it. That is literally the process of selling these deals. Now, like I said, and as you saw from the examples before, this can all be done within the space of 7 to 10 days. And even 10 days is pushing it. You saw, we're doing them usually within 3 to 5 days, usually 7 days is about right, is the top end. But these deals are done very, very quickly. Again, because there's no purchase involved, there's no no conveyancing, there's no solicitors. Everything is done over the phone, via e-signature platform. So it's a very, very quick process, right? Is that clear? Does everybody understand how the process works? Just give me a yes in the chat if you do. Brilliant. Eleanor said, yes, for contracts, check with solicitor after you draft them. You can do, or you can just come with me and you've got them all for free anyway. It's up to you, whichever's easier. Essentially, the agreements need to be done though. That's the main point. Whether you work with me and get those agreements, or you go out and get them from other people, or use AI and do your checks with solicitors, however you get them, the point is make sure you get your paperwork signed. So important. Your heads of terms to secure the deals properly needs to be signed before you start presenting the deals, or sending the deals out. Your non-disclosure agreements with your investors and your non-disclosure agreements with your co-sourcers need to be signed to protect yourself, to make sure that these people cannot cut you out of any deals. So wherever you get these documents from, regardless, just the main point is make sure that you're always protecting yourself. That's the main point. Okay. Okay. And no keys without the fee, 100%. So yeah, if I'll give you a real-time example. We just had John just sold another deal last week, as I said. And essentially the the investor and the landlord both signed the documents. So everything was done. So now, as I said, the fee is due, upfront payments are due, and the investor was asking if he can collect the keys. He's like, I've signed the agreement now, can I collect the keys? And we're kind of like, well, no, we can't let you collect the keys without everything being cleared, right? Because the problem is we can release the keys, but then now we're gonna have to chase that investor for the fee. And you don't want to be in that position when you're having to chase. If they've signed the agreements, right, now they want the key. So the way for them to get the key is to clear all payments. So, usually that goes pretty smoothly for that reason, right? At the end of the day, they don't want to hold up getting the key so they can sort out the property and start making money. So usually you're not going to have a problem with that. But that is the process, 100%. Don't we do AML checks? Yes, you do. Yes, you do your checks. Rent to rent deal sourcing is a little bit different from traditional sales. What you would do if you were doing AML checks for a state agency or for a sale where someone's spending hundreds of thousands. You have to remember, these investors are spending a couple of grand on these deals. So it's actually below that £10,000 threshold that AML talks about. But we do still do, some of the simple checks that they ask us to do. And mainly what I just said to you, you've got to make sure that you're checking ID, 2 forms. We're making sure that we're dealing with the actual the actual director of the property. We're cross-referencing it with Companies House. We're doing our checks on the landlord, etc., etc. So yeah, you do have to do your checks. Very important. Okay. All right. So everybody seems to understand that. It's pretty straightforward. What I'm going to do now is break down in a little bit more detail how we go about laying these foundations and putting this all together, right? So the first foundation was the free Facebook groups, as you remember. And I mentioned to you, look, some of these groups have a lot of people in them. So if you just look at this group right here, 42,100 members. This is a group specifically targeted to rent SA lease option deals. So essentially the creative deals that I've been talking about, but mainly rent to rent. When you go in that group and you have a look, you're mainly seeing rent to rent deals. It's actually quite rare you'll see a lease option deal. So the majority of people in this group are there for rent to rent, right? So that's valuable for us if we know how to navigate the groups properly. Here's another one. Look, 11,000 people, basically 10,900. Another rent to rent group, 10,000, almost 11,000. Another one here, almost 20,000, right? And that's 4 groups. Just to put it into context, I'm in over 200 groups on Facebook, right? So you understand what I mean. Even the fact that there's 200 groups for me to be in should show you how big of an opportunity this is and how big the industry is, right? Excuse me. How big the industry is. So very important to get yourself in these groups so that you're in contact with the right people and you have access to all the data and what's happening in the market just in general, right? And the way you're going to do that is, first things first. And by the way, guys, if you're watching this on one device and you've got access to another, or you can watch this whilst you're doing something in the background, I would probably do this at the same time, just so you know what I'm talking about. But if you go onto Facebook and go into the actual Facebook group section, right? Is everyone following me? Just give me a yes if you can still hear me okay and see the screen okay. All right, so number one, you're going to go into the Facebook group section. And just so you understand what I mean by that, on Facebook, there's a little button that literally says groups, and it's like a little blue circle with like a man or two men in it, a little icon, and it just takes you to the section of Facebook where it's just the groups, right? Where you can search for groups. So you're going to go into that section and you're going to type all of the phrases that are associated to rent into that search box in that section, right? So you're going to type in rent to rent, of course, as in rent, and then the word to, and then rent, how I've got it written just here, right? Where's my mouse? Yeah, how I've got it written just here. Or you're going to type in rent to rent with the number 2, right? Just like how I've got it here. And then you're going to type in like the phrases associated, the abbreviations associated to rent. So rent to SA, rent to HMO, rent to SL, which is for supported living, etc., etc. So just type them all in, but you're going to do them one by one. So you type one in, hit enter, right? You're going to go through, join all of those rent to rent groups, and then go back to the top, type in the next phrase, hit enter, and scroll down, because Facebook's going to bring up like a list of all of those groups for you. Is there anybody that's actively doing this right now as I'm speaking with you, just out of interest? Just want to see if anyone can actually see it as I'm doing it. Okay, brilliant. Zaya's doing it. Rachel, Vladimir, Barry, brilliant. Okay, good. So a good amount of you. Can you guys see the amount of rent to rent groups there are just by what you're typing in? Give me a yes if you can see more than 5 groups, for example. Esther can see it. Brilliant. Barry, can see more than 10 groups? Give me a yes. Good. Join all of those rent to rent groups, every single one. By the way, I don't want you overthinking it. I don't want you to look at the names and look how many people's in it and try and like, if it's got rent to rent, so it's a rent to rent group in the title, join it. Just hit join, go to the next one, hit join. I want you to join as many as you can right now whilst we're on this call. Give me a yes once you've hit 10. If you've joined 10 groups, I want you to write yes in the chat. Or actually write 10. Write 10 in the chat once you've joined 10 groups. And then I'll carry on. Let's see who's going to be the first to join 10. So remember, type all of the phrases in one by one. So I write rent to rent in the search box. I hit enter. Facebook's going to bring up a list of all the rent to rent Facebook groups. You're going to see probably the ones that I just showed you in the screenshot 40 something thousand, 10,000, 11,000. You're going to join every single one of those groups. But once you've joined 10, well done, Paris. Paris has joined 10. I want to see a few more people get into at least 10 groups. I am in 200 groups, guys. Well done, Vladimir. Barry, brilliant. Esther, brilliant. Brilliant. Keep joining them, right? You don't have to do it right this second. But now, the reason why I wanted you to do that is so you, when you finish the call, you know what to go back and carry on doing. But like I said, just keep in mind, as you're joining those groups, remember, I want this to kind of like, I want you to hear my voice in your mind. Gary's in 200 plus groups. That's what I want you to remember. Yeah. So when you get to like 15 groups and you kind of like, oh, I'm in enough, Gary's in 200 plus groups, right? The guys that I just showed you, all of those guys that are selling deals, making all that money, all of them are in at least 50 groups. Most of them are probably in 100 groups now, the way that I've pushed them to do it. But again, the reason why is because it opened them up to all of these investors that they're buying the deals from them and all of these co-sourcers and agents that are giving them the deals, right? These groups are gold mines, so make sure you're in the groups. Is everybody clear on exactly what to do to join the groups? Well done, Zaya. Keep going. Even the guys that have joined 10, keep going. 10 is good, but it's nowhere near enough. I want you to keep joining. But I'd like everyone to give me a yes in the chat if you understand how to find the groups now. Just give me a yes before I move on to the next step. Glenda said yes. Brilliant. Well done, Glenda. Rachel, Bob, Barry, brilliant. Vladimir. Excuse me, guys. I'm so sorry about this cough. I think I've actually got this cough from my nephew, from my son, from him going to nursery. So apologies for the coughs. Zaya says yes. Okay, good. Okay, amazing. And the fact that you guys found 10 so quickly, that literally took you seconds, right? So it shows you how quickly this can be done. But like I said, I'm in over 200 groups, and every time I do this exercise with new people that start working with me, I see more and more and more groups that I'm not even in. And that just shows you people just keep creating more and more rent-to-rent groups because this industry just continues to grow. And it just helps us, right? Because we know how to navigate those groups properly. Most deal sources aren't navigating the groups properly. They're just posting in them. They just get a deal, post it in the group, hope someone responds. But we're actually making use of these groups, right? So it's good to see you guys are in a few. So let's keep going. So the next foundation you guys will remember was high demand areas. So remember, it was Facebook groups, which you've started joining. And using those Facebook groups, it was picking your high demand areas, free maximum, right? So the way you're going to do that is to base it off of engagement, of course, right? So we want to know which areas are getting the most interest, engagement, love, if you want to call it that, from investors in these groups, right? Because those are the areas that we're going to focus on. We don't want to focus on the area where when people post deals there, nobody's interested, right? We want to be in the areas where when a deal's posted, there's, as you can see here, as an example, 50, almost 60 comments, 176 comments, 100 plus comments, right? These bits of data show us which areas to focus on. Is everybody clear on that? Does that make sense? I'm going to go through the actual steps, but does that make sense so far? Just give me a yes if it does. Brilliant. Okay, good. Brilliant. Okay. So how you're going to find these areas is to go back to the groups, right? So back to those Facebook group gold mines that you just joined or you're going to join. And then you're going to type the areas that you have in mind into the search box. Now, when I say areas you have in mind, usually when I speak with people, as I said before, the first place they think of in terms of where they should cover is where they live. So I always say to people, don't just pick that area because you live there. Do some research on it first. So what I want you to do is I want all of you, if you're going to do this now actively, it'd be great if you get involved so you can kind of have an idea of which area you're going to pick, is type the area that you live in the group. Go into one of those groups that you just joined or one of those rent to rent groups. type the area that you live in. So if you live in London, if you live in Birmingham or wherever, the city, I want you to type that in the search box and hit enter, right? So that's one way you can do it. The areas that you have in mind, you can just type them in, hit enter, and then I'm going to show you basically what to look for to figure it out. That's one way. The other way is if you don't have, of course, you know where you live, but if you don't want to, if you wasn't even thinking about covering the area you live in and you're not sure of which area to cover full stop, then another way you can do it is to just type rent to rent in the search box or any phrases associated, rent, R2SA, etc., just like we did before to find the groups. Hit enter, and then that's just going to bring up all of the rent to rent deals in every area, all the areas. It's going to bring up in a list, right? So if you're typing in the area you have in mind, it's going to bring up all the rent to rent deals in that area. But if you're not sure and you just literally type in the words rent to rent or the phrases associated, it's going to bring you up any rent to rent deal. Now, this is what you're going to do. Whether you've typed your area in or not, when Facebook brings up that list of the areas, it's going to show you essentially all the deals that have been posted, all the rent to rent deals posted in those areas. You're going to look through those deals and you're going to make a note of the areas with the most interest and engagement. So again, if I just go back to the example I showed you at the start, clear as day, basically what it says on the tin. You look at the comments, look at the likes, mainly the comments, to be honest, because sometimes, as you can see here, look, this has got 57 comments, but it's only got 7 likes. This one's got 105 comments. It's only got 13 likes. This one's got 176 comments, only got 20 likes. So don't worry too much about the likes. Worry about the people expressing interest, which is essentially what these people are doing in these comment sections. That's how you're going to figure out the area that you're actually going to cover, or the 3 areas, if you pick 3, that you're going to cover. Right? Does that make sense, guys? Give me a yes if that makes sense in the chat. Brilliant. Okay. Zaya says yes. Barry says yes. Esther. Okay. So you're going to pick your 3 areas out of those ones that you can see are the hottest, right? You and just again, just on that topic, usually it's the bigger cities, of course, like London, Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool. Those cities are in the highest demand. Of course, they're the biggest cities. They're, it's a no-brainer. You've got areas like Coventry as well. It's got the 2 universities, so there's a lot of student lets which can be converted into rent to rent. So Coventry gets a lot of love as well. Nottingham, but you'll see this. What I'm saying to you, you'll be able to visually see this when you type these areas in and you're looking through. You'll be able to actually see it for yourself. That okay, every time London gets posted, loads of interest, loads of responses. But when the deal gets posted in such and such area, there's only 1 or 2, or 9 times out of 10, no comments at all. So you can clearly see which areas are hot and which ones are not. Right? So okay, so quick rewind. We have join the groups, right? First foundation, join the groups. Second foundation is picking the areas, right? So now you guys should know which areas you're going to focus on moving forward. Okay. The next step is the qualified investor list. And as I said to you before, the most important part of your business, in my opinion. And you'll see it when you start, you will see it. Everybody comes back to me once they start working with me, especially once they've sold like their first deal. They say, you was right about the investor list. You was absolutely right. Right. Super important. And I'm going to show you how to find those guys. But essentially, Facebook makes it easy for us, right? Because as well as there being hundreds and hundreds of these Facebook groups specifically for our niche, there is also thousands of deals, rent to rent deals in the areas that we've picked that are being posted in these groups as well. And what does that encourage? It encourages investors to express interest. So what happens is in those comment sections, you see things like this. You see potential investors asking for more information about those deals or expressing interest in taking those deals on, right? As you can see here, like Philip, look, interested more. These are, by the way, this is a screenshot of like comment sections. So this person has commented under a rent-to-rent deal in, let's say, London, for example, and they want more information. So potentially that's an investor. Adam, look, could I have more details, please? Daniel, interested. Gibbon, details. Rahman, very interested. Can I get, please? Rita, interested. So you will see when you start to do that activity and actually look through the comment sections, you will see how many investors there really are out there. You're going to see there's thousands, literally, right? And all it takes is for you to reach out to them, have the right conversations, and they end up being the people who are buying those deals from you and paying you that £3,000 fee. Literally, all of those sales I showed you earlier, this is how we found those people that paid us that money, that purchased those deals from us, is literally by going into the groups and finding them. So I'm going to walk you through how. Let me make sure I'm not missing any questions. So Esther said, is it right to message potential investors? I didn't make the post. Is right to message potential investors if I didn't make the post? Yes, that's fine. Doesn't matter whose post it is. I'm going to go through it with you, but it does not matter whose post it is, whether it doesn't matter. Few things to keep in mind. It doesn't matter whose post it is, firstly, but it also doesn't matter how old or new the post is as well. It also doesn't matter how old or new the comment is, because Facebook is so big. Facebook is a beast. As I mean, if you don't know, Facebook is probably the biggest website on the internet, right? Especially in terms of daily users. I think they have like 5 or 6 billion active daily users, something crazy like that. So this platform is huge, right? If I'm saying to you, I'm in 200 groups and there's still loads of groups, hundreds of groups I'm not even in, that shows you how big it is. So the reason I'm saying that is if you worry about how old the post is or how old the comment is or whose post it is that they've commented on, you're missing out on the fact that that same investor that's commented on that post, even if it was like 10 years ago, in another group that you're not in, they could have commented 5 seconds ago, I am still looking for this type of deal. Who's got it? But because you're not in that group, you're not going to see that comment, right? So for me, it's important that you just reach out to every single one of those people. These guys, go back to the example, right? All of these guys that you see, where's it gone? Yeah, all of these guys you see an example, right? All of these people, I wouldn't look at these comments and try and figure out from the outside whether or not they're an investor or not. It doesn't really matter, right? I would message every single one of them if this was under a if these comments were under a deal, a rent-to-rent deal in an area that I'm covering, I'd message every single one of these people, every single one, because potentially they're an investor, right? And you're sending them a direct message, by the way, guys. So you're not messaging them underneath the comment. You're sending them a DM. Is everyone clear on that? Just give me a yes if that makes sense. And Esther, just let me know if that answered your question as well. I hope that made sense. Yeah. Okay, good. Vladimir says yes. Zaya says yes. Rachel says yes. Okay, I'm going to walk you through how to find them. So you're going to go back into our trusted Facebook groups, right? I know I keep sending you back there, but like I said, they're gold mines, right? If you had access to a real life gold mine, where you knew it was full of gold, how often would you go back there, right? So this is why I keep sending you back, because that's where your gold is, that's where your money is. So go back into the groups, and then, as I said, you're going to type the areas that you've chosen one by one into the search box. So let's just say, for example, you chose London, Birmingham, and Manchester. So you go into the group, you type London, you hit enter, and then again, Facebook's going to do the heavy lifting for you. It's going to bring you up a list of every single London rent-to-rent deal that's been posted in that group. So you don't have to literally scroll through the whole group finding every post. Facebook brings it up in a list for you, literally in a list. Then all you need to do is look through the comment sections of those deals. So you just scroll through all of those deals. When you see that there's a deal with a comment or comments, right? You just go into it and you're going to reach out to all of the people that are expressing interest, like I showed you an example before, right? Those are your potential investors. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to reach out. I'm going to actually show you in a second exactly what to say to them. But you're going to reach out and you're going to get them away from the Facebook platform. This is how you convert these people into actual clients. If your only form of communication with an investor is Facebook, like the only way you can speak to them is sending them a message on Facebook, you can't class them as a client. You need to extract them from the platform so you have control. You've got their number, you've got their name, you've got their email, you've got their criteria, you've gone through a set of questions that confirm things, right? So you got them on a qualifying call, you're going to qualify them and add them to your investor list. That's how you're going to start to build that investor list, right? Does that make sense, guys? Give me a yes if that makes sense. Brilliant. Okay. So competition time. So at the start, I mentioned I'm going to do some giveaways. And the first giveaway was the deal sourcing business audit, right? So it'll be like a one-to-one, 1 hour free business audit call with myself. And I explained to you, I'm going to go through everything with you. Whether your business is up and running already, I'm going to help you scale. And if you haven't already started, I'm going to show you exactly how to start. Pretty much, I'm going to try and cram as much of my normal coaching sessions into that one session with you. So you're going to leave with a ton of value. So the way to win the competition is the first person to find, message, and get a yes from the most investors using the steps that I just showed you. I'm going to give you the steps again in a second. The first person to find, message, and get a yes from the most investors wins the free deal sourcing business audit call, right? The competition instructions. Is everybody paying attention? Just give me a yes if you're locked in. How many of you are planning to get involved, by the way? It's always good to see. I'll give you just whilst we're here. The first time I'd done this, a gentleman called John ended up getting 25 investors by the end of this call, by the way, just to put it into context. So it's it's a competition, of course, but this is real because I'm going to get you to message real people. So you will actually essentially be starting your investor list right now. So, okay, good. So Rachel's getting involved. Vladimir, Zaya, Eleanor, Paris, Barry. Okay, good. All right. That's a good amount of people. Anybody else planning to get involved? Just give me a yes. Esther, don't worry, Esther. You can do this whether you started your company or not. You can start having conversations with investors whether you are up and running or not. It doesn't matter. There's nothing that says you can't start speaking to investors, start forming relationships. You're not selling them a deal immediately, but you're just starting those relationships because that's where this all starts. Yeah. Zaya said, does it matter when the post was posted? So no, like remember what I was just saying, doesn't matter how old or new the post or comment is. Does not matter. So don't worry about dates. Doesn't matter. Even if the post was from 20 years ago and there was a comment on it from someone 20 years ago saying, yes, I'm interested, and they look like a serious investor, and you might be looking at that thinking, but that was posted 20 years ago. There's no way they're still looking. Like I said, Facebook is too big for us to make that assumption because they could be in another group that we're not in, right? Remember, there's millions of groups. They could be in another group that we're not in, and literally 1 second ago they said, I'm still looking for ABC, whatever it is, that type of deal, right? So if you didn't reach out to them because you thought that comment's too old, you would miss out on a good investor that's still looking. Facebook's too big. You can't make any assumptions. So just message them. The worst, by the way, my favorite phase is the worst they can say is no. So even if you're reaching out to these people, right, with what I'm going to show you, so don't rush ahead, guys. Just wait. I'm going to walk you through it. I want to give you some nuances, right? But even if you where was I? What was I saying? Even if you reach out to these people and they say they're not looking anymore, right? That's fine. You're getting the training. You're getting comfortable with that process. So I would always encourage you to reach out. Don't try and guess from the outside whether or not they're going to say no. Have the conversation. More importantly than whether they say yes or no is how confident it helps you become, right? So, okay, so this is what we're going to do, guys. Eleanor said the worst part there is that some people don't allow DMs if you are not in their friend circle or they never read it. Oh well, I mean, look, that's we've got to think bigger than that, Eleanor. I promise you, there's thousands of people. We literally do this day in day out. So I promise you, yes, of course, there's some people who don't want to be sent a DM, but there are thousands of others who are happy to be DM'd. They're ready to do business. I would focus on them. I wouldn't focus on the people that aren't ready to do business, right? So yeah. Okay, so let me walk you through exactly what to do, guys. So step one is, and I know it's probably going to sound a bit repetitive, but it's go back into the Facebook groups, right? Go back into those lovely Facebook groups, and you're going to type the area into the search box. So we'll start with just do it on one area, guys. Don't try and, if you've picked 3 areas, don't try and do all 3. Just do one area for now. So for this example, I'll say Birmingham. So let's say you pick Birmingham, you say, okay, I'm going to do this exercise with Birmingham. You're going to type Birmingham into the search box in the groups, right? And by the way, if you go into a group and you type Birmingham, hit enter, or your area, hit enter, and you can't see any deals with comments on them, just go to the next group. There are hundreds of groups. So you don't go, okay, there's no comments in this group. I'm done. I'm not going to try. No, it just takes 2 seconds to just go to the next group that you joined, right? So just um, look through those deals to find the deals with comments. And if you've picked the right area, an area with demand, near enough all of those posts are going to have comments. And then you're going to go into the comment section. A little tip: when you go into the comment section, if you can see the little filter where it says like newest comment or all comments, there's a little filter you'll see at the top of the comment section where you can change it from what type of comments you're seeing, right? Change it to all comments so you can just see every comment, not top comment or new comment, all comments, right? And then what you're going to do is, as I said, as I pointed out to you, everybody that's expressing interest. Let me go back to the example. So, like this, everybody that you can see that looks like this, guys. Every comment that you can see that looks like this, somebody that's basically saying, I'm interested. You are going to message them. Every single one. Okay, let me go back to the steps. Every single one, right? And this is the message you're going to send them. Now, I want you to change this up a little bit. Do not just copy and paste, because obviously people get messaged all the time and you don't want it to come across repetitive, right? And also, I'll be honest with you, I'm actually more a fan of voice notes. So what you're actually saying here, you'll probably get a much better response saying it in a voice note. But of course, because we're just doing it as an exercise whilst you're on this call, you can just send it as a written message. It's fine. But moving forward, if you're comfortable enough, confident enough, just send it as a voice note, right? So for example, if I was voice noting Eleanor and I just saw Eleanor left a comment underneath a rent to rent deal in Birmingham, as that's the area we're using as the example, I would shoot her a voice note. Hey, Eleanor, hope you're well. Look, I just saw your comment on a rent to rent deal in Birmingham. Are you still looking for deals there at the moment? Done. That's it. Just a nice, quick voice note. And then I'd message Zaya if I saw Zaya left a comment as well. Same thing. Hey, Zaya, hope you're well. Look, just saw your comment on a rent to rent deal in Birmingham. Just checking. Are you still looking for deals there? And I'll send that same voice note to every single person in the comment section that I can see, right? Like I said, for this exercise, just send it as a written message. That's fine. And all you need to do essentially is just change the name. So you write it once, guys. Write the first message to the first investor that you see in the comments. Well, of course, you need to change the name, as you can see here. You don't need to change the area because you should only be messaging for one area. You're going to send it to that person and you're going to copy that message, because I don't want you to have to write it to every single person. I want you to write it once, send it, copy that message, the whole message, and then everybody else that you're seeing leaving expressing interest in the comment section under that deal, you're going to paste that message to them as well in the DMs. But the only thing you need to quickly change is their name. which should take you a second, right? Is everybody clear on that? Give me a yes if you're clear on that in the chat, especially the guys who are getting involved. Zaya gets it. Brilliant. Give me a yes, guys, if that makes sense. So you're going to send all of those people who have expressed interest this message that I've given you here. You can change it up slightly if you need to. The two non-negotiables, by the way. So when I say change it up, you can say pretty much whatever you like. But the two parts of that message that you must keep is the fact that it's a rent-to-rent deal. Well, actually, three parts, of course. The fact that it's a rent-to-rent deal, the area, because we want them to know that this isn't a cold message. We're reaching out to them specifically because they're looking for a rent-to-rent deal in that particular area, which is the area we cover. And also asking them whether they're still looking for deals like that. So you can word it however you want to, but those are the things that you need to make sure you touch on to make sure that the message makes sense and that it's a warm message, not because to them, if you're not mentioning any of these things, you're just a random person asking them just about property in general, right? We want to be really specific because especially if they're actively looking for these types of deals right now, if we're saying to them, look, oh, you're looking for rent-to-rent deals in Birmingham, if they're looking for that right now, they've got the money, they're actively in the market waiting for deals to come, that's going to grab their attention. Oh, okay, yeah, actually, I'm looking right now. And that's how you'll form the relationship really quickly. So that's the initial message. Esther says, yes. Barry, Rachel, Eleanor. Barry says, one of the rent-to-rent groups is asking if I'm a compliant deal sourcer. You can be honest with them if you like, Barry. It doesn't, to be honest, that's irrelevant, to be honest. I mean, they're not gonna decline you because you're not compliant. So you can just be honest. Doesn't really matter what they ask in those questions. That's just them trying to filter who's in the group, essentially. Yeah. So everybody's clear on what they need to send. Yeah, everyone's clear on what they need to send. If there's anyone who's unsure, just let me know right now so I can go over it with you before I carry on going. Okay, everyone's clear. Brilliant. Okay, so the winner's going to be announced at the end of this Zoom call, guys. So all I need you to do is carry on sending those messages, keep firing them out, be aggressive, send as many as you can. And at the end of the call, what I'm going to get you to do is send me screenshots of the responses from people saying, yes, they are still looking. And then obviously we'll tally it up. Whoever's got the most, you're going to win the number one prize. And we'll book in that call for next week. So yeah, I'm going to leave that with you. We're going to announce the winner at the end of the call. Rachel said, I don't know if I'm doing this right. Okay, Rachel, just let me know what it is you're unsure about. I'm going to very quickly run over it again for you. So number one, the area. Rachel, have you got an area in mind that you're going to do it in? Just let me know. London. Okay, fine. So London, perfect. Can't really go wrong with London. Now, what you're going to do, have you joined the groups? Was you one of the people that joined more than 10 groups? Rent to rent group specifically? Perfect. Okay. So go into one of those groups, whichever one you'd like. You can go into the one that I pointed out. It's got like 40 something thousand in it, or even one of the 10,000 ones. Doesn't matter. But as long as it's a rent to rent group with enough people in it. So you're in the group. Now, in the search box in that group, I want you to type London and hit enter. Let me know when you've done that. Just type yes when you've done that. So you've gone in the group, you've typed London, perfect. Now that you've typed the area and hit enter, you should see all of the London rent-to-rent deals like in a list. Can you see that? Should just see, if you just scroll down, you might not see it straight away. It might be showing you like members of that group first. But if you scroll down, you should start to see deals in the list. Can you see that? And it should mainly be showing, okay, good, you can see it. Okay, so that's it. So now start from the top and go into the comment section. So you just click on the deal or click where you can see comments. So let me show you an example. Let me just quickly go back. This should be helping the rest of you guys as well. So look, like as you can see here, as you're scrolling through all these posts, you're going to see, you can see from the outside how many comments it's got or that it's got comments. So you just click on the comments, click on that, and that will take you into the comment section. Give me a yes when you've done that. Okay, good. So now you just need to do what I suggested. So let me go back. Where was it? So you just need to send them this message. So you're going to say hi, name, whatever their name is. Hope you're well. Just so your comment on a rent-to-rent deal in London, as you're covering London, and then you're going to ask, are you still looking for those types of deals in that area? Like I said, you don't have to say it word for word how I'm saying it, but you get the point. You're just reaching out to them, letting them know that you saw they left a comment on a rent-to-rent deal in London, and you're just trying to find out if they're still looking for deals in that area. Right, that's all I need you guys to do, by the way, nothing else. So if people are responding, don't worry, I will kind of help you with that after. But for the competition, you just need to send that initial message and keep an eye on the responses for when you get the yeses, and send as many of those messages as you can. Like I said, send the first message. You're going to have to write out that first message, send it, then copy that message. So just highlight it, copy it, and then now you can just paste it to all the other people. So rather than you having to write that message from scratch every single time, you're just pasting it now and changing the name. That's all you need to do, and hit enter. Does that make sense now, Rachel? You know what to do? Just give me a yes if that makes sense. You can't seem to send a message to an individual. I'm not too sure why, Rachel. Okay, I might need to that's probably something to do with your maybe your Facebook. I'm not too sure, but you should be able to just click on their name and send them a direct message. Just let me know in the chat what it is you're seeing. And then if anything, I can help you after the call. But essentially, all you need to do, guys, is click on their name, and then it allows you to send them a DM, right? As many as possible, Esther. Like I said, be aggressive. Send as many as you can. It's a numbers game. So if you want to win the competition, you need to reach out to as many people as you can. So just keep firing them out to all of those people who have expressed interest in the comment section in the areas that you're covering, or one area that you're covering. Rachel, don't worry, I'll give you a hand after the call. It sounds like you're having technical difficulty just on your Facebook. So I'll give you a hand after. Right. So like I said, I'm going to announce the winners at the end, guys. So just keep firing those messages out. So the next step, let's keep going. You're using your phone. All right. Well, I'll give you a hand after, Rachel. Just reach out to me as soon as we finish the call. Send me a DM on school so I know which Rachel this is, and then I'm going to give you a hand after. Okay. Eleanor said, mine are all for 202 and 2023. Okay. Like I said, guys, does not matter about the date. You don't even need to look at the date. It's irrelevant. It is irrelevant. A lot of these investors that we find that buy these deals from us now, currently, today, we found comments from like 5 years ago, 3 years ago. But it doesn't matter, because like I said to you, Facebook is too big for you to really know what's going on. Yes, you saw one old comment from them, but imagine how many comments they probably have left on Facebook in their lifetime. And there's no way of us being able to see all of the comments they've left in all the different groups, on all the different posts, etc., because Facebook's too big. So rather than trying to figure out anything, just shoot them a message, because the worst that they're going to come back to you and say is, no, I'm not looking for a deal anymore. And that's fine. That's not a problem. But the risk to reward is they say, no, I'm not looking for a deal anymore, which is fine. The reward is, yes, I am still looking for a deal. And then before you know it, just like these guys, they're buying deals from you and spending $3,000 at a time. Right. So, okay, good. Esther sent 5. Well done, Esther. Keep firing them out. Keep sending them out. For the rest of you guys that are getting involved as well, keep sending the messages. Don't stop and wait for the responses. Just fire them out. Don't overthink it. I want you to be aggressive with this. There's a method to the madness. I promise. Okay. So the next foundation after building the investor list was, as you guys should remember, was the network, right? And the first part of the network was the co-sources. So we spoke about, you know, these guys that are covering the same area as you. So if we use Rachel as an example, Rachel's covering London. It makes sense for, if Rachel wants to now start selling deals to her list, for her to connect with as many other deal sources in London as possible. Because if Rachel has, let's say, 10 co-sources in London within her network, and she has no deals, but she just has her investor list, those people can provide the deals for her that she sells, right? And now she can actually do volume whilst she tries to find her own deals. So this is really important, because this is the way you're going to start feeding your list really quickly after you've built it, rather than waiting, until you've found the deal directly, which might, depending on how you approach it, might take you a little bit longer. But getting a deal from a co-sourcer is straightforward, really quick. So this is just like some examples. Essentially, it's the people that are posting the deals in your areas, the rent-to-rent deals in your areas, in the groups. If they've already posted the deal before in your area, it's very likely they're either already covering your area, or they will cover your area again at some point. They'll have deals there, which is very valuable for you, right? So the way you're going to find them is you're going to go back into the Facebook groups. You're going to type the areas that you've chosen into the search box. Again, very similar to the exercise you was just doing. So now what that's going to do is bring up all of the deals that have been posted in that area. So I'll use Rachel as an example again. So London, we type London, we hit enter. Now there's a list of London deals coming up, and we're going to contact all of the co-sources that have posted those deals, right? So again, I'll go back to the example. This is Birmingham, right? So if I had typed in Birmingham, all of these guys would get a message. So Nishan, Alexander, Stephen, Georgia, they would all get a message because they've posted deals in that area. So they may have more deals coming, which I could sell to my investors. And by the way, the relationship works both ways. So as much as, like I said, you know, we're more interested in having an investor list than focusing on just getting the deals, there will be times where you may have a deal and maybe none of the investors on your list want to buy it. But if you now have this network as well, right? If Georgia's promoting deals in Birmingham, Stephen's promoting deals in Birmingham, Alexandra, Nishan, and all of the other hundreds of sources in Birmingham are selling deals there and have been advertising deals there before, it's very likely that if I get a deal there, they may have somebody that will be interested, whether it's someone on their own list, whether it's someone who has reached out about one of these deals before that didn't manage to get it, right? Because although there's 57 people commenting on here, 57 people can't take that deal. So potentially there's all these other people who have reached out, as long as, of course, these sources have took the initiative to keep those people's details, they can go back to them with the deal that you have and try and sell it. Right. So this is another reason why having the list is important, but also having that network is important as well. Both of them are super valuable. Right. So, like I said, you're going back into the groups, you're typing your areas, you're contacting all of those sources that have posted the deals to add them to your network, start doing business with them, you add them to your list. Does that make sense? Is everybody clear on that? Just give me a yes in the chat if that makes sense. Very straightforward. Esther says yes. Good. Vladimir, Eleanor, amazing. Zaya, okay. Brilliant. Hugh, Rachel. Okay. So the next step, still working on the network. So we've got our co-sources. Now we're going to work on our estate agent network. Like I explained to you guys earlier, having relationships with agents in the area is really valuable. You have to remember, look, agents, especially letting agents, are actively advertising for new rental properties. You know, they usually have good relationships with the big landlords in the area as well. And not even just the big landlords, the small landlords as well. When I was an estate agent, landlords in the area would just come in and chuck their keys on the desk. you know, because they've got the relationships with the people in the office, and say, yeah, if you can get a tenant for me for this one, it's yours. So having relationships with agents like that have properties coming on their books all the time and are happy to have the convos with the landlord about doing a corporate let or a company taking the property on, super valuable, super valuable. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that, right? um so first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to go onto Google. So we're not going into the Facebook groups for this one, although you can also find agents, really good agents, on in the Facebook groups as well, of course. But I'm going to talk about this strategy because this is kind of our main way to get start good relationships with agents, is to go on Google. And you know, usually people go on like Zoopla, Rightmove, they find the property and then they reach out to that agent about that specific property. But we don't approach it that way. We like to go directly to the company, speak to the decision maker, and form the relationship just in general. So it's not about one property we've seen. We know you're a local agent. We just want to have a relationship with you in general. We can help you fill those units, etc., etc. Right? So what we're going to do is go on Google, type in independent letting agent, and in the area. So if we was using Rachel's example, we'd put London, hit enter, and then what you'll do is you'll scroll down. When you scroll down, you're going to see a section like this. It's going to have the title businesses, and it's going to have a little map. And if you was to press on that map, it would literally again give you a list of all of the agents in your area, right? And in near enough every city, there are a ton of small boutique agents. You don't even realize it, right? Until you do this exercise and you realize, wow, there's loads, tons, right? Because usually we only really notice the big chains in the area. Um, for example, I'm from London, right? So we have like Winkworths, for example. Um, and you're more likely to notice Winkworths because it's got the big brand and it's got many offices, and you know, you hear word of mouth. But what you don't realize is as you're walking down the high street, there's loads of these other little tiny independent letting agents where it's like a one or two man band who are also still getting properties on their books, right? Um, and they're actually more open to working with us because they need to fill these units as quickly as possible, and they just don't have the infrastructure that these larger chains have. So if you can form those relationships with them and bring that value to the table, you've got these companies ready to take these units on. Very powerful, right? So we're going to contact all of those small independent agents. Their phone numbers are right there. And essentially, we want to speak to either the lettings manager or whoever deals with corporate lets in the office. That's literally what I ask when I get on the call. I ask them if I can speak to one of those people, right? I don't want to speak to the receptionist, um, you know, because usually the receptionist doesn't always know what isn't being done in the office. We've literally had times where we've spoken with a receptionist and they've said, no, it's not something we do. And then you call back up a week later, for example, and you speak with the lettings manager and they say, oh yeah, no, we do, you know, we don't, it's not something we advertise that we do, but we have had a couple of landlords that have been open to it, so we've, you know, kind of done it, but we don't speak to every landlord about it. Well, that's fine, right? Because as long as we form the relationship with that agent and stay in contact with them, any properties where there's potential for us to do this type of deal, we can just ask them, oh, can you speak to that agent? Can you speak to that landlord and just find out if they'd be okay with a company taking it on? And if they've already given us the yes on that initial call that they're happy to have those convos, they'll do it, right? And we've got many deals that way, many deals, right? I might speak to an agent and I say, oh, is there any properties that has been sitting empty on your books for a little while, a couple of weeks? Oh yeah, we've got this one here actually. Are you happy to speak with that landlord and see if they're okay with a company taking it on? It's been sitting empty for a while. And they've gone, had the conversation, come back and said yes. And now we have another rent to rent deal, which we end up selling, right? So these relationships are so important, so important. Does everybody understand that? Give me a yes if that makes sense. And if you understand the steps to find these people in the first place. Brilliant. Okay. You're still with me. Amazing. Okay. So again, quick recap. Number one, we are getting ourselves in the Facebook group Gold Mines. Number 2, we are picking our areas of interest, 3 maximum, and they must be based on demand. Number 3, we are building our qualified investor list, which is the spine of our deal sourcing business. Very important we get that right. And then after we built our list, it's now time to feed our investors with the deals. So the first point of call is building our network so we can start getting deals really quickly. So as I just went through, co-sourcers and estate agents, right? The next step is motivated landlords. And my favorite way, and the way that we're crushing it at the moment, we're getting so many deals doing this, is utilizing Facebook, Gumtree, sorry. Gumtree for me is the best classified website out there. There are a lot of classified websites you can use. And by the way, you can literally just go on Google and type in classified website UK, and then there's all these other ones. And essentially, for those who don't know, a classified website is just any website where it allows you to advertise without there being a middleman. So it allows a landlord to advertise their property without needing an agent, or it allows someone to sell a car without needing a showroom in the middle, right? So that's what a classified website is. And Gumtree is probably the biggest classified website, or definitely one of them. And the reason why I love it so much is because of this right here, as you can see, phone number, right? Now we still message landlords, of course, reaching out. I'll go over the steps in a second. But my favorite approach is to just be able to pick up the phone and call them. And again, it's something that we do every week, and we secure deals from it every week. I actually, within the mentorship program, I do a workshop every week where we do live calls. So I'll get Gumtree up and we'll just call landlord after landlord back to back from their phone numbers. And the guys are always shocked with how quickly we're able to secure deals, and also how responsive landlords are. Yes, we get no's. Of course, you get no's. You're going to get no's. Not everybody's going to be open to what we're proposing. But when you know how to approach the conversation, how to present the benefits so they understand how it will benefit them, how it works in their favor, but also explain what it is we're proposing, that's a big one, huge one. Explain it in the right way so they understand what's going on. You're able to secure a lot of deals. We're doing this actively right now. So yeah, this is Gumtree. This is literally just a screenshot from one of the posts. And how you're going to find the landlords is you're going to go onto Gumtree or websites like it. You're going to look for properties for rent in your area or areas. So literally just go on the platform, go into the properties for rent section. If we use Rachel again as an example, Rachel's doing London, so she would be looking at London rental properties. I don't want you to change any other filters in regards to the property itself. So don't start changing the amount of bedrooms and the type of property and things like that. Don't. I want you to have a more broad approach, right? Because as I mentioned to you guys earlier, you're going to have a lot of investors on your list that are looking for different types of deals. So you don't want to just look for one type of property, for example. Have a look just in general, the bigger picture. So you're going to go and look at all of those properties in London for rent. Um, and like I said, we prefer to call the landlord. So you're going to go through those posts, through those advertisements, and you're going to call the ones you can call. If you can't call them, you message them and see if you can get them on a call. But essentially, what we're going to do is find out whether they are open to a company renting the property, right? So we're going to explain the benefits to them, which is guaranteed rent, no void periods, not having to worry about management, not having to worry about maintenance. Essentially, our clients take the hassle off of their hands completely. And if they're happy with that and they're open to what we're proposing, usually they'll, as I said, they'll want you to kind of explain how it works. You just kind of give them a breakdown. And then they say yes. If they do, we need to go away, do our due diligence, like I explained to you guys on the foundations and processes image that I showed you earlier. You're going to do your DD, make sure the numbers make sense, and then you're going to go back to the landlord and give them the proposal. And that basically just means either one, the rent that you're asking for, we can do that, the numbers make sense, or no, you're asking for a little bit much, we need to negotiate, right? So usually that's that process. Once the landlord's happy, we will secure the deal with the heads of terms agreement that we discussed earlier. And now you have the deal formally agreed, ready to be sold, right? Just to rewind though, whilst you are discussing these opportunities with these landlords, so let's just say you've got a landlord that says, sounds interesting, Gary, tell me a bit more, send me some more information, I'm open to it, but I just need to know a bit more. So I'm getting a positive response from her. The luxury you have from having an investor list built up front is you can now go to that list and start discussing this opportunity, right? And I'm, by the way, I'm not telling you to lie to anyone. I'm huge on transparency. I think actually being transparent and honest is the best way to sell. So I wouldn't go to the list and be like, oh, we've got this new deal, it's secured, it's ready, it's perfect. No, I'll go to them and say, hey, look, speaking to this landlord right now, I've proposed corporate let. We're going back and forth. She's open to what I'm proposing. We're just still discussing the rent and things like that. I just wanted to know, firstly, is this the type of deal you'd be interested in? This is where it is, by the way. So give them brief details of, it's Birmingham B10, for example, and it's a 4-bed house and etc. Is this the type of deal you'd be interested in? And if it is, what does it need to look like for it to be attractive to you? And you'll be so surprised how many deals we've sold the minute that it's available, the minute that landlord has signed the heads of terms. Actually showed you a few examples earlier, like Denise selling that deal really, really quickly. Who was the other one? Jane selling that deal in 12 hours, and we've got many, many other examples. The reason why they're able to do that is because they have the luxury of speaking with a list of qualified investors about the deal immediately, and in those cases before the deal is even fully secured, right? So once it is fully secured, the buyer's already there. We already know they're already lined up. I just posted a screenshot from one of my clients, Louise, on one of her sales where she had 9 investors go through the door at the same time. You can see on the screenshot, she said, Gary, this is crazy, 9 investors in one go, right? That was because she started speaking with those investors about the deal before we even had the heads of terms signed with that landlord. The landlord was just telling us, yeah, I'm happy, I'll go with it. We're just going back and forth with them. But in the background, I had Louise talking to her list, right? Generating interest up front, which you can't do if you don't have a list. So your traditional deal sourcer cannot do that. They don't have that luxury. They have to get it right with the deal to then be able to go in the groups and post it and hope that the right investor sees it. So this is how we're finding our landlords. In a lot of cases, obviously there's other ways you can as well, but for me, this is one of my favorites, being able to just get on Gumtree, call, have those conversations, and basically get the yes there and then on the phone. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand that process? Give me a yes if that makes sense. Esther said, how do you search landlords on Gumtree? So you're not actually searching for the landlords themselves, you're searching for the properties. So the landlord information, if I just go back to this example here. So I wasn't searching for Ray. This is the landlord for this property being advertised. I wasn't searching for him. I was just searching for properties in Birmingham, basically, right? Properties for rent. You can see, look, all the filters up here. Property to rent, house. I mean, I didn't add those. The reason why it's saying house and 3-bedroom is because I've clicked on this 3-bedroom house, but essentially it's just properties for rent and in this area, Birmingham. And then the landlords are the people who have posted these ads. So you just reach out to them. Like you can see here, look, this person, Ray, you can see they put their phone number. You can email them if you want to. But as long as you've got a Gumtree account, which is free, you just put your email in and register. You can press this reveal button and the phone number comes up. And if you do it like how I do from my phone, so I've got the Gumtree app on my phone, I can just call them straight from the app. So it's even more convenient. I can just go in, look at London, for example. It comes up in the list on the phone, on the app, and I just literally press the phone number and call straight from the ad. And I can have the discussion with them just like that. So it is really, really good. That's why I prefer Gumtree. But there are other, of course, there's other platforms as well. Essentially, just get them on the phone is the main thing. No, like I said, you still contact. So remember what I said. Email. You've got email here. So you still, if there's no phone number, it will just have email. So you just send them an email. And essentially, you're just asking, is the property still available? Yes, it is. Okay, great. You free for a quick call? I just wanted to ask some questions. Get yourself on the phone call, and then you're going to go into talking to them about what's possible with the property. And essentially, I just kind of asked the landlords whether they're okay with a company renting it. Like, see here, look, you're going to find out whether they're okay with a company renting the property. If they are, then you have got yourself, potentially, you've got yourself a rent to rent lead. Yeah. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, Esther? How to find them? And also, Rachel, your question, not to do you not contact those without a number? Yeah, so we're contacting everyone. But what I'm saying to you is that my favorite approach is when their phone number is there and I can just call them. We're contacting everyone, but I would prefer if everybody just uploaded their phone number. And there are a lot of ads with phone numbers on it as well, by the way. So yeah, you can be literally, if you was to set aside half an hour, 40 minutes just to make calls, you could literally speak to a good 10, or depending on how quick your calls are, 10 plus landlords easily. Okay, so that's how we find the landlord. So on to the next step, is the final step, essentially the sales process, right? So I kind of went through that process with you on the diagram, but just in short, now that you have the deals ready to be sold, you're going to inform your investors via email, WhatsApp, or text, whichever you prefer. As I explained earlier, I believe WhatsApp, well, not even I believe, the stats show that WhatsApp is the best in terms of response rates. So I would say send a WhatsApp, but I think it's also good to send an email and text as well. Try and hit them any way you can, essentially. But like I explained, the most important action is going to be the follow-up calls for anyone who hasn't responded. So you want to call them within 24 to 48 hours, if possible. And what you're going to do is you're going to start booking in viewings for the ones that are interested. So when you're speaking with them, they're going to ask you questions, you're going to give them information, you're going to go over what their thoughts are. But essentially, this call is about whether or not we can get you to come down and see it in person, if they're interested, of course. So you get them through the doors. Usually an investor will go and view within that week. So, like, for example, if I sent a deal out today and then I'm speaking to investors tomorrow, if someone's interested, I should really be able to get them in the doors before the weekend's over. By Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they should be able to go and view. So it is usually very quick. It's worth noting that we don't need to be at the viewings ourselves. I've kind of mentioned that earlier. Essentially, it's about communication, guys, right? And being transparent. So, like I said, these clients are not taking these properties on based on us seeing them. Literally. By the way, I'd done that survey. I actually asked a bunch of investors, would you carry on taking properties from me if I didn't go and physically view them myself? And I explained to them, like, look, some of these are in the other part of the country. I'm in London, I'm driving hours. And then if the landlord says no, then it's kind of a waste of time. And all of them said no. Every single one of them said it doesn't really make a difference whether you've seen it or not, to be honest. As long as I can get pictures and videos, recent ones, I'm happy, because really it's going to be based on me seeing it. So you do not need to be present for these viewings. Make those arrangements over the phone, over text, over WhatsApp, using emails, and everything still runs just as smooth, as long as obviously you get your paperwork signed as well to protect yourself, like I mentioned. Okay. Landlord, agent, or co-sourcer, even tenants. I've had tenants conduct the viewings as well. So we do not need to be there. If an investor wants to proceed with the deal after the viewing, so we follow up with them after the viewing, they need to sign the lease agreement, like I mentioned earlier. So we'll send them the drafts first. If both sides are happy, we'll send them the final agreements to sign on DocuSign. They will sign the agreements and they will pay any upfront costs, i.e., if the landlord has requested a deposit, first month's rent, then they will make those payments, and they will also pay the sourcing fee. We will invoice them. So upon both parties signing the lease agreement, we will be invoicing the investor for the sourcing fee because it's now due, right? Once both parties have signed the agreements and the funds have been paid by the investor, the landlord is going to release the keys. Again, we do not need to be present, right? I literally cannot remember the last time I was present for a handover, a key handover. I'm no exaggeration. And none of these guys, literally none of them, have been present at any handovers. So it's not necessary. As long as we make the arrangements and we make the calls to make sure everything runs smoothly, that is fine. Whole transaction takes place literally by leveraging our landlords, agents, and the internet, essentially. Right. So this has allowed us to complete multiple deals within 1 month. Like I just showed you, you just saw multiple examples of people selling multiple deals per month, or selling block deals, which have equated to multiple deals per month. And you only need to sell 4 deals per month to make at least 10 grand, which I know is a lot of you guys on the calls goal at the moment, right? So at 1 deal a week, you are surpassing 10 grand. Does that make sense, guys? Give me a yes if that makes sense. If the sales process makes sense, just drop me a yes in the chat. Esther says yes. Vladimir says perfect. Hugh says yes. Eleanor, yes. Barry, yes. Amma, yes. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Eleanor, yes. Amazing. Okay. I'm glad everybody understands. If there's anything anyone doesn't understand, please feel free to ask now. I'm no issue with going over it or over the specific part you're unsure about again. But everybody understands. Natasha says yes as well. Glenda, okay, good. All right, I'm going to assume everyone's okay with it. Natasha, okay, good. Where would the photos and videos come from? Good question. So either the landlord, or the agent, or the co-sourcer. So essentially, everyone other than us, right? Um, so what we usually do is we just ask the landlord to send us the most recent photos and videos if they have one from like the most over the past few days or few weeks, with the current condition. If they don't, then we just ask them to take a video and take some photos when they go down there next, because again, these landlords have put their own properties on the market, so on Gumtree, for example, um, and they're advertising it themselves. It's not via an agent. So if other people are viewing it, or there's other interest, or if the property is sitting empty, vacant, which it is in most cases, they are going to be visiting that property, quite regularly until somebody takes it on. So we usually say, okay, when's the next time you're popping down, which is normally within a few days. Um, just take some photos for us and a quick walkthrough video on your phone. That's more than enough. We don't need any glossy brochures or like fancy videos and professional photos. Don't need that at all. These investors do not care about that. I promise you. All they want to see is, okay, what does it look like in terms of photos and pictures roughly? Now get me through the door so I can see it myself. So I can see whether I can use that living room as a bedroom as well as an SA, or I can see how much space that bedroom's really got, or I can see what the potential is in terms of work that needs to be done, decorating this, that, right? That's what they want to see, right? So you just leverage the landlord, the agent, the co-sourcer, and try and get these guys to actually see it themselves. Yeah, does that make sense, Natasha? Give me a yes if that makes sense. Brilliant. Okay, good. So, guys, who believes that this is actually something that they could do? Do you think this is something that you could do with my help? So I'm not saying do this as in go out on your own and figure it out, right? Do you feel like this is something that you could do with my help, especially considering you've seen the help I've given other people and the results they've got using that help? Do you believe this is something you can do? Esther says yes. Eleanor says yes. Barry, Rachel, Hugh, Vladimir. Me and Hugh have been. I'm actually speaking with Hugh already, so I know Hugh's situation. We're going to get Hugh up and running very, very shortly. Glenda says that was quite helpful, but we'll definitely need your help. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Brilliant. So there's quite a few of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly walk you through how I can help you. Right. So I've given you the strategy essentially. I hope you guys have been taking notes as well. I've shown you quite a few examples, although that's just scraping the surface. I think like I said, about 10 to 13 examples, I believe I showed you. We have 150 plus. So you can see that once you are following the right strategy, the results are there to be had, and especially if you've got the right support, right? So I'm going to walk you through how I can help. It's called the Six Figure Deal Sourcer program. Every single person that you saw on those examples, and if you go on my Facebook and scroll through, and if you go in the free school group and look through the win section, every single person that you've seen getting those sales have come from this program. I only have one program. Um, these are the this is the program that I prioritize essentially. So I'm in there every day, me and my team, um, and the program comes with step-by-step video and written guides in great detail, including scripts. That's going to help you build your 10K per month deal sourcing business within 90 days. So on average, the guys that I'm working with are selling their first deal within 4 to 5 weeks of working with me. Um, that is very normal across the board. I have so many examples of people doing it quicker, but on average, it's 4 to 5 weeks. And essentially, those guides are going to walk you through how to build a powerful list of investors that are going to happily pay you that £3,000 per deal, and how to nurture them properly. I've kind of given you the short form version of how to find those people, and what to say to them, but I give you a full breakdown of how to really take that investor list from zero to generating £10,000 plus per month. Also walks you through how to build a network of sources and agents that generate a consistent flow of rent to rent deals that you can sell to that investor list for £3,000 each. It's also going to walk you through how to get landlords to say yes to rent deals consistently with ease. I mentioned to you guys earlier, we do workshops every week where we're actually calling landlords live, right? So you get to really see how it works. And the reason why I love doing it is because it just helps people with their confidence, right? Because I think one of the biggest fears people have is what someone's going to say on the other end of the phone. Everybody thinks that the landlords or the investors or the agents are going to bite your head off. But I promise you, if you're approaching it the right way, with the way I'm going to show you, everybody's really polite. Everyone's responsive, right? So people get to see that in real time on these weekly calls that I do, where I'm calling out, 10, 20 landlords, and they get to hear how people respond. We also do the same thing with agents as well, another workshop. It's also going to show you how to run this business 100% remotely without ever having to conduct a viewing yourself. So as I said, all of those examples that I just showed you, there isn't one where they actually went and visited the property, or went and met the investor in person, or went and met the landlord or the agent. They conducted every single one of those sales just using a laptop and a phone, right? So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that from scratch. Is everybody clear on the program? Does that make sense? Before I move on, just give me a yes if that makes sense. She says yes, brilliant. Eleanor, Esther, Vladimir, amazing. Rachel, okay. So that's the program. The coaching part of the program is so it's actually 90 days of support via our private members only group. So you get 24/7 Q&A in real time, like I mentioned. And it's real 24/7, by the way, guys. I mean, there's a lot of programs and courses out there that promise 24/7 and daily this, daily that. But we really do that. Just to put it into context, we have done a daily check-in call Monday to Friday, every day, consistently for at least about 2 years. So not other than bank holidays, we are on a call every day, checking in on the guys, holding them accountable, but also giving them that support that they need, right? And also in the private group, we're in there actively answering questions within an hour. We set ourselves a bit of a target to respond within an hour and go over any deals that the guys are working on, answer any questions, and even jump on calls live. So, for example, I posted about, it wasn't in this presentation, but on the school group and on Facebook, I posted about one of my mentees, Gail, new mentee who just sold her first deal last week. You guys might have seen it, lovely lady. And I actually jumped on a phone call with her client for her because there was a few amendments and things that needed to be done with that contract before the investor was happy to pay the fee. And I think Gail just kind of got a little bit flustered. So rather than saying, okay, well, look, this is what you should say, go out there, have that convo, I said, girl, let's get her on the phone now. Send me her number. I'll call her, put her on loudspeaker. You're here. You'll get to hear how I handled that call. And moving forward, you'll kind of know what to say. So we done it, got on, call went amazingly. I closed the investor literally there and then and said, look, we're going to do what you've requested. All that we need essentially is if we can get that done for you today, we need you to move forward, get it signed and get the payment over to Gail by today or by tomorrow morning latest. And that's literally what happened. We done what we were supposed to do, got the amendments done, got them back over to her. She was happy. She made sure she signed. The landlord made sure they signed. And by that morning, as you guys would have seen when I posted it, Gail received the sourcing fee that morning, the full £3,000. So it's very, very hands-on. It's not just here's the info, go and figure it out. I'm going to get on calls for you, literally do some of that work for you. So those are the coaching, daily check-in calls. Oh, sorry, I didn't mention. The live weekly workshops, investor challenge, and deal hunt. So we're calling investors, we're calling landlords, we're calling agents, we're even calling co-sources if we need to, all live, right? Does that make sense in terms of the coaching, guys? Give me a yes if that makes sense. So you've got 24/7 Q&A in real time. You've got 24/7 deal analysis in real time. You've got daily check-in calls Monday to Friday, and you've got live weekly workshops. Okay, great. The documents part of the program. So somebody was asking earlier about documents. I said I would go through it in a bit more detail. So you receive every single document necessary to take a rent-to-rent deal from A to Z. So once you're in this program, you don't need to go elsewhere to get this document and grab this document from outside there. And you don't need to do any of that. Every single document that you need is in this program. So I'll just kind of break that down for you. The lease agreement, of course, to actually complete these sales. That's how you legally complete a rent-to-rent deal with an investor and a landlord. You get that. The NDA, the non-disclosure agreements. I mentioned to you that there's two. So you get the one to protect yourself when working with investors, and you also get the co-sourcing one to protect yourself when working with co-sources. These are important, guys. This is what stops you being cut out of deals and make sure that you are paid your fee. By the way, out of the 150 plus people that I have helped do this and are actively selling deals every week, none of them are being cut out of deals. And as I said, they are not attending viewings. They are not meeting anyone in person. So I would like to think the main reason why these deals are happening without them having those issues is because they're making sure they're getting the paperwork signed before they release any sensitive information, right? Heads of terms agreement, as I mentioned, is to secure the rent-to-rent deals formally with landlords or agents. Plus, there are documents that you guys need for compliance, for your systems. There's other documents that you're going to need, which are not listed here, but you get every single document necessary. So plus more. Is that clear? Does everybody understand that? Give me a yes if that makes sense. If there's any questions about the documents as well, please feel free, fire away. Everybody said yes. Okay, great. All right, so that's the documents. The community. I think community is super important when it comes to education, just in general. I think being able to network and build friendships and business relationships with like-minded individuals is super, super important. And I honestly, within our program, hundreds of thousands of pounds have been made just with the guys co-sourcing with each other. I think I just showed you one example of Kent and Karan. Look, 10 grand, that took them a week to do. There's so many, like literally hundreds of examples of these guys selling deals together. So a lot of money has been made within our community. So you get 90 days of 24/7 access to the private community of active sources and our private deal sheet. So we have our own deals that we post before they go out to anyone else. We have a section dedicated to in-house deals in the program, in the community. This allows you to sell ready to go exclusive deals from our network directly to your list immediately. So, as I mentioned to you earlier, if you've built your investor list and now you've got investors actively ready to take deals on, they're saying, look, Eleanor, I spoke to you last week. Where's the deals? Right? They're saying, Amma, I spoke to you 2 days ago. Where's those rent to rent deals you're supposed to send me? Right? You have to kind of go out there and find those deals yourself if you have to call landlords, for example, or speak to loads of agents. Whereas if you're in our community, you can literally go straight into the deals section And London, for example, Rachel's covering, she can see all of the deals that are actively being sold in London, and she can also present those deals to her list, right? Has to move quick because the deals do sell very quickly. But as I said, once you have that list, you're able to move quickly. So really, really valuable part of the program that a lot of people have personally told me has made a huge difference. Because again, you can come into the program, you can, get the information, get the support. I can jump on the calls with you every single day, make sure you know what you're doing, make sure you're going out there and doing it. But nothing feels better than being able to speak to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other people who are also in the same position as you and trying to get to the same place as you. Because you'll pull each other. The guys motivate each other a lot, as well as myself. So you have access to that community as well. Does that make sense? Give me a yes if that makes sense. Vladimir says yes. Zaya, brilliant. This has helped at least 100 mentees sell their first few deals within weeks of joining, literally. So very, very important. The community is right. And I'm going to chuck in some bonuses, right? So you've heard me talk about the 90-day program. So the program is supposed to be only for 3 months, but I am going to chuck in some lifetime bonuses only for the people that are on the live call. Of course, people who are watching the replay right now, unfortunately, you will only have access to the 90 days. But for the guys that are on live, we have access to the lifetime access to the private community and deal sheet, which comes at a 299 value. So usually, you pay to get into the program, and you get 90 days access to this. You sell one deal, you've made $3,000 essentially, right? But we're going to give you lifetime access to it. You get lifetime access to the 24/7 support, as I mentioned, deal analysis, Q&A, etc. Everything that you need. You have a team, you have myself actively ready to hold your hand and help you out with whatever you need, whether it means we need to jump on calls there and then as well. Lifetime access to the live weekly workshops. As I said, we're calling landlords, agents. We're securing deals live, and we're helping people overcome any confidence issues in real time rather than just sending you out there to do it on your own. You get lifetime access to the daily support calls. One of my favorite parts of this program is jumping on the calls every day. By the way, I jump on them every day, Monday to Friday. We make sure that all questions are answered. Any deals that are in the works, there's no hiccups. We just cover everything on those calls. Those calls are really, really good. I'll be honest with you, they're only really supposed to be an hour, but they're always over an hour because there's just so much going on. There's a lot of activity in the groups. There's viewings being booked in, offers on the table, new sales, new deals being added to the group, etc. So we go over a lot, and the guys literally say they join the call whether they've got questions to ask or not, just because they know they're going to hear some value and some motivation from what the other people are talking about and asking and going over, right? So really, really important. But those are your lifetime bonuses. Does that make sense? Give me a yes if that makes sense, guys. So you have lifetime access. So rather than only having the 90 days and then being removed from the group when you're finished, once you're in forever. Okay. All right, brilliant. So the price currently. So the price of the program originally is 5,995, so 6K essentially. And the reason that I priced it at 6K was based on what we're selling the deals for. So as you've seen, we sell our deals for £3,000 each. So essentially, you would only need to sell 2 deals, right? And I've just shown you tons of examples of people selling multiple deals month after month, back to back, multiple deals in one go in a lot of examples. So essentially, you sold 2 deals, you've made your money back. Everything you sell after that, which we continue to support you on for the lifetime, every day, is yours. We do not take a penny of any money our guys make at all, literally. So that is the original price. Currently, we have a 50% discount on offer. So it brings the price down to 2,997. So essentially, you sell 1 deal and you've made your money back. As I mentioned to you, on average in our program, people are selling their first deal within 4 to 5 weeks. So you've made your money back in that first month, and everything that you make after that is yours, 100% profit. So that comes with the 50% discount link. Does that make sense, guys? Give me a yes if that makes sense. So original price is 6K, which equates to 2 sales, right? 2 deals. Current price is 3K 2997, which equates to 1 sale. You sell 1 deal, right? As long as you follow what I'm telling you to do, you follow my guidance, you use the support I'm offering every day, you stay in contact with me, you get involved in our workshops, there's no reason why you cannot sell at least 1 deal and make that money back. No reason at all. Literally, right? Everything is pretty straightforward. And if you get stuck, you have a team of dedicated people that are literally on hand for you 24/7. So there is no excuse. Like I said, look, I can give you example after example. We have Jane. She started this program whilst working full time, juggling the kids. I think she's got three children, if I remember rightly. And she told me, Gary, look, I need to find a way to make good money so that I can spend more time with the family, etc., etc., and not be tied down to this 9 to 5 job. And look at Jane, 6.5 grand in a week, right? 3 grand in 12 hours. Just spoke to Jane yesterday. Jane has like 3, 4 deals going through right now. By the end of next month, she would have made another 10 grand easily, right? And that's just one example. We have tons of examples. Please do feel free to take time to go through some of those examples in the group, because again, they're real people and you get to get a true appreciation for what's possible, because every goal that you guys mentioned earlier is really realistic. I was actually shocked that there wasn't any unrealistic one. Everybody said a number that is more than doable, right? So at this price point, if you get in on the program, you are getting a steal, right? So I have another bonus. So I mentioned having lifetime access to all of the resources within the program, and all of the calls. I'm also chucking in one-to-one VIP coaching calls as well for the people that joined today. The program is not normally a one-to-one program. So again, all of those examples that you saw, all those sales and all of the sales you will see if you go and do your research on my page, all of those people are part of the group program. Six Figure Deal Sourcer program is a group program, but we've added some extra value by chucking in one-to-one. And it's only really been the last couple of people who have joined the program, like Mahen, Denise, Gail, who's just sold this deal, and if 1 or 2 others who managed to get in on the one-to-one coaching since we've rolled it out. And all of those people have sold deals. All of those people are selling deals, right? So the extra support is definitely helping. So I'm chucking that in as well today. Does that make sense? Give me a yes if that makes sense. So you secure one-to-one VIP coaching calls when you join today. That's lifetime access, by the way. So every week we can jump on one-to-one calls. You still have access to the daily calls as well, by the way. So if you want to join the group calls every day, I would advise you to, because they're very useful. But also, if you want to have a one-to-one chat and maybe discuss things that you don't want to talk about on the group call, you also have that too, right? Okay, great. So what I'm going to do, for those of you who are interested, I'm getting some direct messages, which is good. I will respond to you guys straight after. But for those of you who are interested in getting started, I mean, is there any questions at all? I'm about to post the link, but is there any questions at all about anything that I've mentioned? Everybody's super clear on how the program works, what's on offer. Just give me a yes in the chat. Okay. So this is the 50% discount offer. Like I said, it also comes with the one-to-one support, which is only going to be available for today, guys. Everything else will be available if you decide to join tomorrow, for example. But for tonight, for those of you who are planning to enroll, you will also get the one-to-one support, and some extras that I'm going to be chucking in as well. Also, any updates or upgrades to the group, once you're in on the lifetime access, you get access to those as well. So essentially, once you're in, you're in. You're part of the family. You're in for life, right? And you will always have that support, and we will be pushing you to reach those goals that you guys mentioned earlier. But to be honest with you, like I said, those goals are quite small, right? They're quite realistic. I would encourage you to shoot for the moon, and go big. So I'm going to help you out with that in real time. Now, we're going to talk about the competition. Can everybody see that link? I'll post it again. Someone just DM me, said they can't see the link. Here's the link. So if you click that link, it will take you straight to the page to enroll yourself. It has all of the information. If you've got any questions, you can either send me a direct message on here, like a few of you are, or on school, or we can speak after. But I'm going to talk about the competition now, right? Oh, actually, sorry, I've missed a question from Zaya. Zaya, it's a question. It says this is a question regarding the messages that were sent to the investors. What should I do if they say yes and respond? Okay, I'm going to talk about that right now, Zaya. Don't worry. Amma said, "Have you sent a direct message to yourself, Amma, or just in general?" No, I'm just posting it here. Look, I'll post it again underneath your comment. I'm not too sure how you pin a comment on Zoom, so I can't pin it, but I've posted it 3 times now. Again, if anyone's got any questions or you're interested and you maybe have some last questions, just shoot me a message. Or if you're having any issues finding the link, then I'll send it to you directly. Now, the competition. Let's talk about it. Let's see. Now, Amma says, I've sent you a direct message of the 10 Facebook. Okay, good. All right. So everyone who's getting involved in the competition, because I'm going to do the announcement now. Like I said, all I need you to do is take screenshots of the responses. So anyone who responded saying yes, right? Just take screenshots of them, all of them, and then send me one DM with all of those screenshots in it. And just make sure in those screenshots I can see that the date and the time, like it's today, because obviously you could have messaged those people last week, right? I want to make sure that it was during this call. So make sure I can see the actual times and things like that. Please, that will make my life so much easier. Okay. Just give me it. And actually, just to help me out, just give me a signal, guys. Who's actually getting involved in the competition? I know Amma is. Zaya. Okay, Zaya. Are you shooting me a message on Facebook? So message me on Facebook, please. Probably be easier for you as well because you're messaging everyone else on Facebook. If you've already messaged me on school, which I can't see anyone has so far, just keep it to Facebook. Okay, Zaya says no responses. Eleanor, no responses yet. Okay, all right, Eleanor, how many people did you message? Zaya, how many people did you message? Vladimir, how many people did you message? I have sent you a direct message of the 10 Facebook posts I meant. Correction, competition I meant. Just checking for any responses. Okay. Eleanor sent 5. 5 is not enough. We need more messages out. And this is why it's important to have that support, because we're going to do a lot of this stuff in real time. Of course, on this training, I can only kind of like do so much with you. But if we're working together, I'll be sharing the screen. I'll be showing you in real time exactly what you should be doing step by step. But just from what I've shown you, I mean, look, if you sent 5, 10, 20, you at least know you've got an idea of what I mean and where to find them, right? But I'm going to show you how to really ramp it up and get more messages out. Just to put it into context, we're getting like 50 messages out per day to build that list at first. So even for the first like 3-4 days, you're sending 50 messages out per day, the list starts to grow rapidly, right? But of course, for those of you who are coming on board and working with me, I'll be able to help you out with that. So, okay, let's see. Who Zaya messaged 20. Okay, no responses yet, Zaya. Keep an eye on it even when the call ends, guys, because the last one that I done, the last training that I done, there were quite a few people who were saying, I've messaged similar sort of numbers as yourself. So of course, this is new to you guys, so you're just starting out. But they messaged a few people and they hadn't had any responses yet. So I said, just keep an eye on it and keep messaging people and let me know after the call. Well, I had about 5 or 6 of them come back to me after the call. Next day, Gary, responses are coming in 5, 6, 7, right? So yeah, I mean, look, you've messaged a few people, but that's why I was saying to you, be aggressive, message as many as you can whilst I'm still talking, right? So I would try and get out a bit more than 10. 10 is, I think 10 is the most, or 20 is the most, Zaya's the most. But we're aiming to get like 50 out a day. So, and again, if we're working together, you're going to pick that up very quickly because I'll be able to show you in a little bit more detail. Okay, let me just have a look at who's messaged me because I've got a few messages. Let's see if any of them are the screenshots. Okay, Amma sent me the screenshots. Right, Amma. Uh, the problem is you haven't done it the way that I've told you. You haven't sent them a direct message. You're commenting underneath their post. Remember, I said send them a direct message. So you're supposed to be seeing that they've commented, going to their page and sending them a direct message. That was what I said on the breakdown, the instructions, right? So this is what I mean, guys. We've got to make sure we're doing it the right way and you're following step by step what I'm telling you to do. Because small mistakes, or if you're missing things or doing it a different way, if you don't get the result, you're going to wonder, why am I not getting the result? But like for this example, you're not doing it the way I'm telling you to do it, right? And the problem is with like just commenting it like that underneath their comment on the post is it looks spammy, because obviously you're commenting that under everyone who's left a comment on that post. So if that person looks and sees, okay, that you've messaged me this, but I can also see you've messaged every other person under the post this, it kind of looks like it's spam. It just doesn't come across the same. Whereas if you're sending all of them a direct message, they don't all know that you're messaging each other, that you're messaging each of them, right? It's more professional. It comes across more clean. Do you see what I mean? So, and it doesn't come across spammy. So I would send them a DM. Is there anybody else out of those of you that got involved that is doing it that way, that is commenting rather than sending a DM? Please just be honest. Don't worry. Again, you're brand new to this. I'm trying to help you more than anything. So just let me know. Anyone else? Eleanor, are you sending DMs or are you commenting? Vladimir, Zaya, who else was there? Vladimir, Zaya sent DMs. Okay, good. All right. Just want to make sure everyone's doing it the right way. And Eleanor, you're absolutely right. Of course, it's quite late in the evening now. So for some people, they're not even looking at their messages yet. But the whole point is it's kind of like a compounding activity. So you send those messages, you leave it. Once they're in the DMs, they're not going anywhere. All it takes is for them to open it. Literally, they open the message, they're still looking. Now you have a new investor that will buy a deal from you. The problem that people have is they'll send 1 or 2 messages and sit and wait for that 1 or 2 people to respond. You can't do that. This is why I said to you guys, aggressive approach. You know, look, you could probably find 10 people to message in one post, and there's literally thousands of posts in these groups. So you've got to figure out how to get out to more people, which is what I'm going to show you and teach you. Right? So, okay, so anyone at all, any responses? I know it's late, so you may not have got any yet. And don't worry, I will continue this competition even when the calls ended. So if you get any more responses by, let's say, tomorrow, which you should do, especially if you carry on messaging more people, is I've made a note and I can kind of see who's on the call. Whoever gets the most, as long as you send me those screenshots by tomorrow, then whoever wins, I'll announce it on my Facebook page and in the school group, and then I'll still give away the business audit. For those of you who are just on the call anyway, everyone who's joined the call, as I mentioned, I'm going to be giving you the step-by-step guide and also the compliance checklist, right? So if you're not compliant yet, you'll know exactly what to do, and it will give you a little bit more of a breakdown in the guide. Yeah. Okay. And Vladimir said, in general, talking, how many messages you have to send to get one investor on the board? Difficult to say. Eleanor, I wouldn't really. I, it's tricky because remember, you guys, I spoke about, sending voice notes or sending written messages and what you're saying in the messages. And so it's approach as well, because there might be one person who sends 50 messages, but in the wrong way, and they don't get any responses because people are just not resonating with that message. Whereas you got another person who sends, let's say, 10 messages. They might send 10 voice notes in the way that I'm teaching them to do it. And the first 3 people respond and say, yes, I'm still looking. Right. So it's difficult to really gauge it. It is a numbers game, but it's also about the approach, which is why you saw me talk about the different ways you can do that. And again, this is something that I work with my guys on very, very closely. I audit their messages that they're sending when they're first starting out to make sure that everything's being done the right way. So yeah, but on a day-to-day basis, we are messaging, to start off with, at least 50 investors, at least. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. Eleanor said some may respond in a month's time. Yeah, definitely, 100%. We still have people messaging us, responding to messages we sent them months ago, right? But again, this is what I mean. If you think about it, some people will message. Let's say someone messages 50 investors and they say, okay, I've messaged 50. That's enough. I'm going to sit and wait until those 50 respond. And let's say all of those 50 only respond in a month's time. Well, you've lost so much time in between that. We're going to blow you out of the water, because in between that month's time, we've messaged, it probably equates to thousands of people with the way that we're doing it. Very straightforward. So that's why our lists grow rapidly. So yeah, you are going to get some people that respond in a month's time, but you also get people that respond immediately, as in you message them, they respond straight away. You also get some that respond the next day, some that respond the day after. Like it just depends, right? And this is why it's so important to get enough messages out each day to get those responses. Yeah, the less messages you send, the less chance of getting the responses. The more you send, and especially if you're sending it the right way, the more chance of getting the responses you get. Again, by the way, guys, all of those sales have come from this approach. There's no other way the guys are using to get their investors. None at all. We are all getting those investors from these Facebook groups doing this. So this isn't kind of like, there's a few different ways to do it and try this one, try. No, it's like, this is the only way we're doing it. And it's the way that's worked. And it's been working, for me personally, 10 plus years. But if we're just talking about the guys working with me in the program, since 2021, back to back, the first person to join the program, his name is Kieran Goldie. Still speak to him to this day. Lovely gentleman. First person to join the program, 2021. He sold his first deal in 4 weeks. And ever since, we've been able to get that result pretty much back to back, month by month, year by year, till, as you guys just saw, look, we just had one of our newer members, Gail, who just sold her deal like 5 days ago. More deals in the works as we speak. So it's a numbers game, but it's an approach game as well. And that's what we kind of help you with. How to get those messages out in bulk very, very quickly. I have a video I made where I messaged 50 plus investors in 10 minutes with the way that I approach it, right? So I help you with things like that, but also making sure that the wording and the messaging and the approach is right, because that plays a big part of it as well. Yeah. So I hope that answers your questions, guys. Just again, because there's been more comments since. Let me just make sure I'm posting. So the 50% link, guys, you have access to it. It's active till tomorrow. Tomorrow the link will expire. It will go back to its original price. Yeah, that everything that you need is in that program. If there's anything you're unsure about, please feel free to reach out. Send me a direct message on school. I also do have one-to-one calls that I do, one-to-one strategy calls. So if you'd like to jump on a one-to-one strategy call before you enroll, just to ask more questions or go over anything in more detail, then please reach out and I will send a message over to you with a link to book it in. Amma says, I've sent you a message on Facebook Messenger. Okay, good, Amma. I can see, yeah, you're getting those messages out. So you've just messaged a few people now. Hi, Brooke. Hope you're well. Just saw your comment on a rent-to-rent deal in Reading. Are you still looking for those types of deals in that area? Okay, so that's it. Keep firing them out. Look, these people, you've only messaged them in the last like 5 minutes. So some of them might respond, but don't worry too much about the responses, to be honest. Just keep firing them out. That's it. Keep getting those messages out, and you will see the list will grow rapidly. Yeah. So well done. That's really good. Barry, yes, we have a one-to-one tomorrow. I think you already had it booked in before this call, but yeah, hopefully you're still happy to go ahead. Well, it says you're still happy to go ahead. So I look forward to catching up with you tomorrow morning, Barry. There's actually a few more people I've got booked in for calls tomorrow as well. I don't know if it's anyone that's on the call though. I'm just trying to see if I recognize the names. But if you are one of the other people I'm speaking with tomorrow, one-to-one on the strategy call, I look forward to it. And yeah, I look forward to helping you take this to the next level, get your own 10K per month business up and running, and really, really, really crush this like you're seeing my guys doing. Honestly, guys, like I said, look, none of them are any smarter or better than any of you guys. So if they can do it, you can do it, and you have me and my team's full support. And we're very experienced. We've made a lot of money in this business, and we've been around a long time and have a very strong network as well, which we also kind of open the doors up